Okay, all right, so let's do this. I'm gonna pull up one of the draft logs here. Yes, please. We can see maybe maybe what Chris's partner ended up pulling up. You can also stop over here into see what John ended up drafting. Looks like he has a pretty solid green-black deck. A couple of kill spells, which are obviously quite good. He picked up both Overgrown Pests, and then we see Ariel, Knight of Windgrace is like a little splash of, looks like a couple of white cards. Oh, a Black Blade Reforged. That's another really good one. Kind of turns anything, any old pest or whatever, into something quite good. This is an interesting item here. Lears, do you know how long we might have till round one? I'm assuming we're going to take a couple of minutes. No longer than 30. All right. How do I open this file? Do I have to go to like Draftmancer? Game logs. Import game log. Review. Okay. I see. I've done it. Not this one. Where are we going here? Where'd it go? Bing bong? There we go. Wesley's main deck ended up here, which what looks to be like an Esper Shell overall, but mainly white-black with what looks to be a couple of little blue splashes. Zur Eternal Schemer. Interesting. Non-aura becomes a creature. I don't know how often you're going to be using something like that. But a couple of different items here. Invasion of Tolvada, super game-breaking. Rada Dravik could be very particularly good. If you've got some legendary creatures in here. Norika, I think, is actually extremely powerful in a deck like this, which is something really exciting to be part of. Nothing all that exciting in the sideboard that we like missed out on. 2 Joyrus Familiars, I think, was something to kind of consider early on that some people didn't. That's exciting. Zeke's got all of his cards here, pretty much. What are the big ones that we're looking for? Quintorius plus J-Rune Hazaret? Like Skull Raid. Did I miss that one, the last one? Back over here. Oh yeah, I remember this card. It was quite good. One of the keys is like a lot of the times when you get your mind rats like this, particularly the 4-mana ones, they're always just like, maybe you hit a card, maybe you hit the last 2 cards, and that's the best part of it. This one, you can hit the last one and draw a card, right? If you're taking your opponent's last card and you're drawing a card, that usually worked out pretty well. Plus, this is something to do on 2 mana. You can then get them on 3. I agree. This is about as good of a mind rat as we've seen, I don't know, ever. Mischievous Chimera kind of helps out with some of those items. You know, a lot of these instants and things. How do these 60 card decks play the traditional 40 card draft? It's a good question. Essentially, what that means is that you're going to need a lot more playables. A lot of the times when you're playing a 40 card draft, your 23rd card is usually pretty bad. But at the same time, you don't see it as often. Now your cards 23 through 36, which are like the extra cards that you would normally have, are something that you want to make sure are powerful. And so what really can end up making some of these things go over well is you need to make sure that you have consistent power level. 1 or 2 cards obviously can win it. Something that I'm really excited to see about here in Zeke's deck, in the 4-mana slot, we've got Shadow the Sky and Elder Dragon War, 2 phenomenal cards that both wipe the board. Cosmos Elixir, which plays really well with that, on top of just a couple of other hugely powerful cards. Rampaging Raptor. You've got things like Intercessor's Arrest over here, Squee, Phoenix of Ash. I mean, red was really sort of flowing here. Quintorius and Jayru. We've got the Mirari Conjecture, Behold the Unspeakable. Just look at the sort of density of extremely powerful cards here that really, really makes this sort of deck very good. Obviously, he's going to have to do some trimming and cutting, but the end 60 here looks to be something extremely more powerful than what we've seen previously. Exactly. One of the other things is that you're going to be a little bit more prone to just sort of flooding out, because instead of having 17 lands, you have 25 lands or whatever. And so having a glut of 4 lands on top of your library is definitely something that can happen. So having things that you can mana sink into, things that allow you to consistently draw cards and filter your deck and loot, those are all going to be extremely powerful items here as well. One really interesting thing we'll note is that Jordan ended up in blue-black, John was in black-green, Wesley was in white-black, and then Nathan here was in white-black as well. So looks like not too terribly amount of black here on Nathan's deck, but it's just really interesting to kind of note how much black was sort of seen at this table when we see Philip over here with black-red. Primarily mono-white here. Primarily mono-white. Definitely taking things like Realmbreaker's Grasp is very good. Definitely taking things like Dreadful Apathies. These are very good. Citizen's Arrest. Bound in Gold. Looks like we're just taking all sorts of white sort of removal, keeping things on the board. Wow, a second Shadow of the Sky was open as well. So we've got that kind of going for us. Invasion of Belenon. This one was okay. Not particularly strong, but playing things like Captain's Call with Invasion of Belenon can be very, very powerful. No, this is definitely not worth the splash. So these are the decks as they were drafted, and when the thing was done, this is the deck. So this could have been one of the last cards or something he just hadn't cut yet. Powerful cards to note, we've got Tatsunari, we've got the Furia, we've got 2 pseudo removal spells in Crippling Fear and Shadow the Sky, on top of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sort of enchantment removal spells here. And then a Swamp Cycler, very important there. Imperial Oath is a little innocuous, but was extremely powerful in its time and generally a very good card. And then we've got a couple of other big powerful top-end spells. So this seems to be a good sort of value deck. Your 5-drops are powerful. Your 4-drops are powerful. Icy Manipulator is something to look at. I probably look at cutting this Juggernaut. Not too many enchantments for Tatsunari, but I don't think that's really necessary. If you can get 1 3-mana 3/3 and then a second 3/3 from the Tatsunari trigger, that's where we want to be at. That's where we want to be at. I'm going to make sure I've got Discord sort of up and at 'em in the background so I don't miss anything here. And things start to get, looks like we're still in deck building. Don't want to miss any games. This is Chris's deck. It's kind of where he ended up for now, which is great. We'll see exactly if this Avalanche Caller ends up doing a whole lot. My guess is that with 4 snow lands, it's a little bit not great, but if you can, work it out, it's going to be awesome. Horizon Seeker works out really well for the snowlands. You can go pick those up pretty quickly. Unfortunately, we did not end up getting any sort of ramp outside of things like Altar. Notably, Skittering Zero can also get a Snowland. I didn't really consider that in the draft, but it definitely might have been a good reason. Really only 2 red drafters out of the whole thing. So we'll see what Philip's deck kind of looks like. And it looks to be pretty aggressive. Couple of minus things to get creatures out of the way. Some early aggression moving on here. Not seeing anything that's really sort of, over the top exciting. Yep. Poison the Cup, good. Entrancing Lyre's fine. Demon Bolt, some good sort of creatures. We've got a Rampage, second Raptor, and Thundering Raiju. Yeah, so this is a kind of the deck that we're looking at, that you're not particularly looking for powerful cards. We're looking for stuff early and often to attack quickly. So, you got to sort of get them down to about 10 with all of these cards and hope that something like Thundering Raiju, Rampaging Raptor, and obviously your 2 Scalds. These 2 things are hoping to kind of close the door. Notably, we also see things like Rapid Flames. Normally, this is not that powerful of a card. However, those creatures can't block this turn very good. See Smashing Success. Usually not something we want to be doing, but destroying an artifact, I don't think these 2 cards are going to make it. I thought there was another one here where creatures can't block this turn. Maybe I was wrong. Bronzeblade Boar, yes, can reconfigure on top of a Scald. Notably, it's one of those things that the boars on the battlefield Scald can end up putting the counter, backing things up, and you've got a 4/3 attacker. Then on the next turn, even if the boar has a counter, you can then reconfigure back onto the Scald. Now you've got a 6-power double striker, and that is a 1/2 combo. That is absolutely a good one to kind of call out there. I don't think I love things like Smash to Death, but 1 damage to each creature your opponent's control can definitely clear the board from all these little 1/1s that might be running around. And if you're going to be playing a bunch of little 1/1s on your own, or X1s, 2/1s, 3/1s, that kind of stuff, 2 Discordant Pipers, we've got Dreg Recyclers, Splatter Goblins, just all these X1s, something like this is definitely something that can go over pretty well. So I'm interested to see how this goes. I don't have a lot of major faith, but this could pretty easily 2-1 as well as it could 0-3. So it's going to be a good thing to kind of look out for. Steve looks like he's just got all of his cards in the main deck. Best of 3, that's correct, yes. Biggest one to call out here is probably Renin Realmbreaker. Looks like this is kind of the deck that Chris was also looking to go with. And this is one of the reasons why we didn't see too many wheels, was because things like Battle for Zendikar, Grow from the Ashes, these are things that are showing up. Relic is showing up here in Steve's deck. We saw the Copperhouse Crusher, the Slimvoda. We see a Kami War, which might end up making it work. Imbolish's Clutches is another fantastic card to look out for. We've got an Emoti already. And a couple of these other cards I think are just sort of draft leftovers. Erebos Blackhearted is something, Bleakhearted. Both Caryatids ended up here. Yeah, Elysian Caryatid. This is something that Pease was looking towards seeing if we could wheel. And when Steve saw them early on, looks like he snapped them right up. A lot of these little 2/2s with lifelink probably not going to hold on to. Eidolon, I think, is something that we'd want to end up seeing. Maybe something like this Moss Viper as well. And not a whole lot else. Raven Form is great. Iron Verdict is fine. We're seeing a couple of cards here that's just going to continue. Oh, this is where the Kami ended up. We saw the Relic of Legends and Grow from the Ashes. The Deathbloom Gardener. Every single 3-mana ramp spell worked out well in order to play these half a dozen or so. Notably, a lot of the ramp spells that we talked about aren't necessarily things that's just go put a forest into play, but they all also fix. So this Kami War is not something that's really out of the ordinary. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think if one of these 2 ended up on the plan, they'd have a really sick deck, but unfortunately they were really sort of competing against each other. And although I think Steve ended up with a lot of the ramp, I think that Chris may have actually ended up with some of the larger cards. He's actually not even playing some of these as well. Excuse me? Oh man, this Dream Trawler better be in this deck. Chris, what are you doing? Oh, it is. Okay. It isn't there. He just must have taken it out for some reason down here. It isn't there. Whew. I was going to go off mute and tell him get that thing in there. And then finally, it looks like Jordan's one of the last ones that we've also got Josh here. Jordan's our most experienced player. I think he's had like 7 or 8 top 8s now. And as you can see, he's got a pretty low to the ground sort of thing. You're going to see him playing cards like Moment of Truth and Omen of the Sea, which are cards that just sort of cycle through the deck. They're kind of meaningless cards. You see Eye of Gataxis, Shadow Prophecy. These are all cards that are kind of continuing to dig towards some of your more powerful cards. But I'm not really seeing a lot of power here. It's just a lot of hyper efficiency, right? So things like Skull Raid is a 2-for-1, Settle the Score is, regular removal. Things like Final Death is just 1-for-1s, and you get your card advantage from like Dark Bargain, buying back something and getting in this 5/5 is really good. So, overall, I think this deck can do well, but there's definitely probably a draw where this doesn't do all that well either. Looks like there was a little bit of red. And then by the time that, both Zeke and Philip were in red, looks like Jordan kind of moved off of it here. How is Jordan getting the opponent to 0? Attacking and blocking with creatures. If you're Elspeth's Nightmare and your Settle the Scores take out their big creatures, and then he's got things like Preening Champion, which have both 2 mana flyers and 1 mana creatures. This is little creatures that just eventually go all the way because they just trade efficiently. He's got these Expedition Lookouts, which can eventually be they can slow down the game. He fills up the yard, and then eventually they get in for unblockable damage. This is something I would probably put a little bit of money on. The deck I like the most. It seems the most efficient, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he's got 42 cards here, which means he'd be on 18 lands. So some of these cards are getting cut. Obviously, something like the Air, maybe this Curator's Ward, some of those items are going to get cut. Probably something like this Timely Interference. Yeah. 2 power times 10 equals 20 damage. So you're just looking to efficiently make things work. This Eye of Gataxis is it's totally 5 mana for a 3/3 that draws a card, but when your 3/3 trades off with one of their 3/3s and you got to draw a card out of it, 5 mana is worth it, right? Something to kind of consider as things kind of move forward that way. Notably, he's got 2 Shadow Prophecies. I don't know if he's playing with both of these, but he might end up playing something like the, like this Molten Tributary or the Geothermal Bog just to get an extra domain in there. It's like a tap swamp or a tap island. I don't think there's really any red cards that were all that exciting in here to kind of look at. Squash is meh. All these things are just sort of meh altogether. But this one looks particularly efficient, which we'll kind of look at. Then last but certainly not least, it looks like John P is in some sort of green-black, mid-range, efficient as well. Did we look at this? This was the first card we looked at, right? So the Cruelty of Gix is one to really sort of look at. We've got the Ariel, which is something to kind of consider as well. This one is something that wins the game on its own. We are seeing some cards like Debt to the Kami, which in general wasn't very good in Kamigama, but that's because there are a lot of enchantments running around. If there's one particular enchantment that you want to get rid of, this one is particularly strong. We get 2 Overgrown Pests, and again, just kind of some creatures that attack and block. We do see some creatures up here that have like a sacrifice synergy, so something like Deathbloom Thallid, or if you ever were to happen to just have some of these extra creatures, the Kami of Transience can be sacrificed pretty well, only to end up getting brought back once you end up having another enchantment go to the graveyard. And then, like I think we mentioned the first time around, this Blackblade Reforged is something that makes any little derp, like the ones from Scout or just these pests, they turn them into huge threats by getting +1/+1 for each legendary land, or each land you control. Now, it's equipped 7 rather than equipping 3 on a legendary creature, but if you've got 7 lands and you need to turn your dude into a big guy, that's going to be how you're going to do it. Works out pretty well. Urborg Repossession was another one that looks particularly strong. It was okay on its own, right? Just to like grab a card for 1 mana, but kicking this was particularly good. Looks like people are getting loaded up into things are getting loaded up into Arena, which is good. And we're going to be driving home into round 1 here pretty quick. Did I miss the pairings anywhere? Does anybody have pairings? Lears, you got pairings? You know, while I've got you all here, let's do this. Let's bring this thing up here. Top 8 Clubhouse. Yeah, some of us have never made a top 8, so I don't actually have access to that channel. I only have access to the top 8 deck archives. Oh, sick. I got people in chat. They're pinging me, which is great. I'm going to take a little snapshot of this. For those of you who don't necessarily watch the stream often, but of course are part of the league, we are currently doing... perfect, thank you very much. I've got, we're doing a draft every card in the set. We're currently sitting at about 153 packs, and I think we need about 170-ish rares left. And so pretty soon we're going to actually have a pack opening stream, which will be exciting. Hoping to have about 50 more packs than we need. So once we get to that, probably 150-ish rares necessary and 200 packs, we're going to go and open them all up, see where we're at, and do a little bit more drafting. Ugh, wow. Round 1 about to begin. Let's go. It's very exciting. We've got Team Runaway, Team Kin against Team Greatest Tanuki. Now, because these are because these are 2 people teams, we're not really going to be concerned about like an actual team record, other than just for fun. Whereas like in an actual team league or a team event, right, in a sanctioned one, you'd have a team of 3, and whoever, whichever team wins more matches, best 2 out of 3 of matches would get there. This one we're just going to end up taking a look. It looks like it's going to be round robin. Each team plays each other team, and that we're doing like alphabetical. No, it's not alphabetical. I don't know how. Whoever was listed first, looks like they're being playing who's listed first. So we're going to follow Chris with our draft that we had, right? Chris played this blue-green deck, which looks like it's going to be kind of just efficient in the early game, stall out until you get to some real powerful threats and maybe get some value out of emoting and cascading. That's what's going to be happening early on. And then if he finishes up early, we'll probably flip over to his partner, Chris. If they happen to win, we'll follow them along. If not, then we'll follow the victors. Oh, my lottery ticket. Ugh. Apparently this is this thing that's going on contents where Amazon will tell you, hey, everything's good and it's all shipped and it's going to be happening here. And then on the day of, they'll tell you, oh, something happened with your order. Can you confirm that you still want it? And by the time that they do that, you have to essentially start over again. So no, I did not end up getting my gift bundle that I was looking for. I'm currently still waiting on it, and hopefully it will come in the mail sometime soon. So really unfortunate. I'm also hoping the same thing does not happen with the Sauron deck that I ordered. I know, I was pretty disappointed, and then I was just like, well, it is what it is, and then come to find out this has happened to hundreds of people on Reddit. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with the whole situation, so we'll see how it goes. At the end of the day, I can always just cancel all the orders and just walk down to my local card shop and hopefully end up getting something there, but it's just more expensive than what I originally pre-ordered it at, and I'm not that thrilled in doing so. But I did find the Hobbits deck at Target the other day, so picked that up for some fun. The Commander deck, and so I think we're gonna start doing a little bit of Commander on Wednesday nights, opposite of our game nights. Just pop on over to the local card shop. I see people in arena. I see people ready to go. We've got one singular white card in this Team Mega deck, 2 white plains, and then of course an idyllic what is it, beachfront. Yeah, so we're not playing anything else particularly. Looks like we got 2 snow covered plains in the deck here as well. Did decide to play the Mending of Dominaria. I'm not too sure about that, but some of these cards end up getting removed. Oh, you know what, let me do this. Yeah, there we go. Look at this production value. Highest ranked against highest ranked. Ah, from like ELO and stuff. Sure. Instead of buying a one ring, the bundle is on GameStop for like 60-ish bucks. So what I'm looking for in that gift bundle is obviously one collector's booster, which is a little exciting and fun, right? This league's performance or based on ELO overall? That's a good question. My guess would be is it's this rank this league's performance, but it could also be ELO overall. League record for the league. Okay, that makes sense. So what I'm looking for in that gift bundle was obviously like the collector's booster, which is exciting. I also wanted the 4 like Frodo, Samwise, the One Ring, and Gollum, like the little picture cards that they had, the scene cards. That was really cool. And then obviously, just the regular packs are fun and exciting to open. I don't usually open too many packs anymore, so doing so just for fun. Something I was kind of looking to do this time around. We'll see if they show up. Was it ever confirmed each team has, each team has one member that had not made a top 8 before? And so Chris R is our member from Runaway Teamkin that had not made a top 8. Is that correct? Yep, one-time top 8. We'll be playing against a Zeke, which is a one-time top 8er. Great, good for them. I believe it was Wesley here, who's only a couple leagues in. March the Machine was his first, and so it's going to be his first top 8. And so we'll end up seeing... we won't see Wesley this time around. And then between Jordan and Nathan, we all know that Jordan's got quite a few top 8s, so we'll see it. Which is nice. Yeah, that probably, I mean, something might like that might be playable in like an actual, in-store tournament setting. Or you might also give like the higher seed the option, saying, if you're the 1 seed and you get in the tournament, you get to tell like which players play who. But I think it's a perfectly reasonable matchup, and it looks like we're going to dive into round 1 at 136. I'll have to remember that. Getting in here right away, we do have a snow-covered forest, which is exciting, and a 3-mana ramp spell getting right into Frostfist Strider. Part of me is kind of expecting to keep this. I mean, not that bad. Not that bad at all. We don't really have any plays until 3, and so not knowing what was going on into a red-black deck, that's not the best. That was my plan. We're going to follow up the winners of each one. And I think it's just going to end up being play the Prosperous Thief on 3. Oh, but now with a flyer, the Pixie Illusionist, you can end up playing the Altar of the Pantheon, and then playing the flyer, which allows you to end up playing the Frostfist Strider next turn. I think that might be a good choice. Certainly can't fault Chris with his land selection. He's got the very, very classic unhinged lands. Very good ones. Some of the best. Yes, so this was the treasure fixing one, which I think was a great choice. I don't think it's really going to line up in this draw, right? Notably, we don't see anything from Zeke on black mana, so that's a little bit interesting. But, as it sits, if I remember correctly, this Blood Aspirant can sacrifice something, and that allows it to ping. So it can kind of sacrifice off the Satyr. It's not that big of a deal. It actually means that the Flyer was dealing with 2 damage this turn, and they sacrificed the 1/1, but it did end up growing the Aspirant, which is something to kind of consider and look at. Well, I think the difference is are you going to play the Prosperous Thief, or are you going to play the Altar? And I think if you play the Altar, double spelling and playing the Pixie out, when your opponent has 2 1/1s is something very relevant and something to kind of look towards. So I think that's probably what I would go with. And I like that play because it really sort of, it saved 3 life that turn. It caused Zeke to spend 2 mana, and he still got the Frostfist Strider coming out here soon. It's tough not to block this, right? There's got to be some sort of, I think he's just going to 2-for-1 himself, Zeke is, right? Because Frostfist Strider with a ward 2, it's a pretty tough blocker, right? It does a lot of things. Yeah, it does stabilize the board. The problem is, I don't know what we're doing about this Phoenix, right? Yeah, obviously we tapped it down for a turn, and that's helpful, but what are we really doing? Yeah, almost assuredly, right? But you kind of got to get it out of their hands anyway. Kami Flare, this is exactly what you want. It does get the 2 damage because he's got a modified creature. But you're 2-for-1 yourself. You take the 2 anyway. Stuff that you got to get out of your hand. So now here we can end up playing the Siphoner or the Thief and still Meeting of Minds. Otherwise, you can play them both. Something to kind of consider. I think if you want to try to Meeting of Minds, you might as well play the Destiny Spinner, I think. And then possibly with the hopes. Destiny Spinner is a reasonable card to end up ninjutsuing back in because it's 2 mana, blocks well. That all kind of plays off. I don't think you really want to be ninjutsuing a land, but it is something that you could do. And 4 cards in Zeke's hand that all have to do, that aren't lands. That's a little troubling. However, they could all be black cards is one thing to remember. I believe Zeke was our black-red drafter. And so, was Zeke the black-red drafter? Here, hold on a second. Let me go ahead and get the draft logs back in. Game logs, review. No, Zeke was our red, probably red-blue, maybe red-white. Maybe red-white. It's tough to actually tell. Maybe just ended up getting mono-red. So if he ended up mono-red, then he's actually in good shape. But my guess is that he's probably missing a color. Yeah, blue-red or red-white, yeah. Mending of Dominaria. It's fine. Is it good here? It's tough to tell. A Gitu Lava Runner, a Furnace Gremlin, and an Elder Dragon War. No mana issues so far. All red cards. Wow. It does get to pick up a creature card here, and that Frostfist Strider is going to be a good one. Could also pick up the Pixie Illusionist, so that way you can end up... you'd have to wait another turn, take another 2 damage. Then when you play the Pixie, you're going to end up... you're going to kick it, and then you're likely going to trade because they're going to pump the Phoenix at the same time. And then they're just going to bring the Phoenix back, and it just doesn't feel very good. It kind of looks like, at least as of right now, that Chris is getting soloed by this Phoenix. He's going to have to do something about it. Yeah, we've got the old MTG bot. Contents probably could have picked a card that has less text on it, but what can you do? Next, he's going to ask for like the flavor text on Giant Spider. You're welcome to if you want. It's not that big of a deal here. Can we get the flavor text, please? Oh, interesting. I don't know if I like this attack with the 2-2. I think these are pretty straightforward blocks, right? Oh my gosh, get out of here. Look at it. Contents. What are we going to do? All right, so it's a pretty easy setup there. A Furnace Gremlin obviously makes some sense. Wow, all right, this is pretty good. The Lindworm. Picked up a second Pixie Illusionist. I feel like we probably want to pick up the Frost Strider, though. I suppose what you could do is you could end up playing the Illusionist and playing both flyers, which is not a bad idea. Take a hot 600, huh? But I also really struggle to think that we're not just playing the Lindworm here, right? Like, you got to just gain your life, put a big fat creature down. We are going to get a whole bunch of lands back on the battlefield next turn, but I don't really know if that's going to help us all that much either. Right? Like, are we really running out of lands? Today I learned, huh? I don't think it's Fang of Shigeki. I think I know that. Yeah, make sure you don't time out. Oh, he's got a whole timeout. Okay. Yeah, and just drop the worm. Opponent's a red deck on 4 mana. Like, this is a pretty tough beating right there. And I think you're gonna play the land. Could attack with a 3/4 and then try to get the Prosperous Thief in just to kind of start dealing some damage. But you also don't really want to pick up the 1/1 counter on the Destiny Spinner. One thing that could happen is that we could attack with the worm, and if it ends up making it through, then you can end up taking the Prosperous Thief and buying it back for another 4 life. People got to watch overall timers in best of 3. That's not typically something that I've run into, but I also play very fast. I'm a fast player. Strider will effectively protect oneself from the Phoenix of Ash while developing enough power to hopefully counter Race. You think so? Uh-oh, guard Rampaging Raptor just made it in? Woo, scary. Woo, scary. A second Lindworm. We got, oh, all those lands came in the battlefield untapped, which is exciting. So that kind of means we just get to jam pretty much everything. You know, I don't hate attacking with the Lindworm. I think we attack with the worm that's on the battlefield right now. And I also certainly don't hate picking it up, right? I would probably ninjutsu this thing after damage is dealt at the end of combat. You can ninja it in. Oh, no, do your damage first. No, do your damage first. Put a stop. Damn it. Oh, no, don't do it. All right, apparently he wanted a treasure. -3 damage, huh? Put it in chat. -3 damage. Does allow you to end up playing all 3 cards this turn. I don't know if that was necessary or relevant, but certainly something that could be done, right? If he didn't play the Lindworm this turn, you could have ended up without sacking the treasure, could have played both the Strider and the Illuminist. Something to kind of call out and think about. But I think the play was very reasonable. Nothing all that exciting. The ground is pretty much locked down, and really the only way that Zeke's winning this game, I think, is through the air. this Rampaging Raptor, an extremely good card, is just being outclassed by the fact that, Chris has 12 lands on the battlefield. Are we going to get back our Mending of Dominaria? Ooh, Quintori's Lore Master just hit Zeke's hand. Notably, no planes in sight. Yikes, yikes, yikes. But something to think about. I think we're attacking with at least the Lindworm, probably also the Strider. I don't think it's doing a whole lot else for you. And my guess is we're going to end up playing a second Lindworm, which is kind of a big deal, and then the Illusionist. One thing to be noted is we could end up taking like the Wildwood Expert and getting back one of the cards that they've got. I don't know about that. My guess is really what you want to be doing is you want to just continue to attack with Lindworms every turn. And then when one dies, you buy back an Expert. You buy back a Lindworm with the Expert. Corner certainly has been turned. It's not over yet. It is certainly not over quite yet, even though we're going back up to 15 here. Oh, I don't know about this. Nope, I think I like playing the Worm first, and then I like Worm and Illusionist, and then you want to hold that Escort because that's going to allow you to gain more life as well. Because we're a little bit racing. And I think just the right rip from Zeke really sort of allows us to keep moving. This Strider does sort of gain you 4 life in its own right because obviously it taps down the dragon. So that's not unreasonable. Destiny Spinner can spin a lot of attackers. Yeah, they are 2/2s in the moment because you got both the Kieran and the Destiny Spinner. But, 4 mana for essentially what is a free 2/2 is a very reasonable card. X is 2 because Destiny Spinner counts as 1, and then the Kieran counts as 1. I don't think Prosperous Thief counts as 1, but it very well could, I suppose. Yeah, I think I want both Lindworms on the field, and then we're just swinging in and slamming with the Lindworms. Eventually, they have to be either traded off. I don't think there's too many cards that kind of get Zeke out of this. He's got probably an Active Treason in here somewhere, I think, right? If I remember correctly. No, I must be looking at somebody else. No Active Treasons. Ren's Resolve, I suppose. Can draw a couple of cards. Jeru and Hazaret. Oh, it must have been the card that was just added to hand. Yeah, I think this is not it. Corner's been turned. And I got to say, I had a lot of doubts. I thought Chris was really going to get run over here. But it looks like he's really sort of made it work. And you know what? The Mending of Dominaria. It looked particularly strong in this thing. I did not think that I was going to say that tonight. Yeah, we were. All of us. Right? Looks like the attack all out is coming through. You got to end up getting rid of a creature card from opponent's graveyard. A non-creature card, excuse me. Yep, that's a very reasonable one. I think you make your 1/1 into a 2/2, so that way it obviously trades off. Well, no, okay, we're going into a 4/5 over there and just sacrificing off the 1/1 because if he blocks that, he's not blocking something bigger. A chump, and eat, and take 8. And I think based on how Chris attacks here, this looks like a great one. Try to win in the crackback. Everything looks good. What Zeke doesn't know is that a second Lindworm is probably going to seal the game here. I really struggle to think that, this isn't going to be the end of the game. Can't even be countered. I mean, notably, Zeke ended with 4 lands on the battlefield and his 4-drop in hand, and I think that's kind of where he wants. He wants gas, maybe a plains and a 5th land in there as well. Makes some sense, but Zeke had a good draw, and Chris was fast enough. I think another thing to kind of think about was playing that altar back on turn 3. It really allowed to get that Frostfist Strider out on the battlefield and then start dropping Lindworms and, everything sort of went in from there. If he was a turn too late, those Lindworms might not have been fast enough. But a very good showing from Chris's deck. Very good showing. Not a whole lot of outs on the red side there. Really what it kind of came down to was during the blocks, red ended up making it so that way the crack back when he attacks back after Chris had swung out was going to be lethal or quite strong. But playing a second Lindworm there, which was, in fact, the third Lindworm of the game, he gained over 12 life that game, Chris did. And when you're a red deck on 4 lands and just trying to attack quickly, it doesn't really work out that way. Looks like we might be cutting the Dream Trawler, mainly just because there's other ways to stabilize against red and trying to bring in some things pretty early. I don't hate this 2/2 that whenever a land hits the battlefield, you gain a life. That obviously seems quite strong. I think the Geothermal Kami would be something to kind of look towards, even though, there's not that many enchantments. I think you probably have enough where gaining 3 life is extremely important. Removing some of our fixing items here. A little surprised to see Vorinclex is still in there. That's 10 mana, I think it is quite a bit. Or maybe it's 8 mana. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's way too many mana against a blue deck. Added an arrest for the fact he wasn't playing it already and adjusted the plains to mountain ratio. It seems like a little bit of anecdotal evidence. Okay, so we're going to lock ourselves in. Looks like... Looks like Chris has got about 20 seconds left. He's going to finish things up, which is great. Excellent, excellent. Wow, yeah, great draw here. I don't think this Protect the Negotiations is particularly strong in the deck, but it makes a 1/1. It can kind of counter a threat. That's particularly good. What I want to see here is Destiny Spinner on 2. I can't really tell if I want to go with the Strider on 3 or if I want the Pantheon, but I suppose the rest of the draw is going to kind of help smooth that out. Uh-oh, looks like a mulligan from Zeke's side. Not exactly what you want to see, but obviously from Chris's side, wow, down to 5, and he's going fast. Seeing if we can get this Phoenix Chicken to something else similar. I don't think it's going to be enough based on the cards that we're seeing out of Chris's hands, but toss a 1-lander and then a 5-lander with a Phoenix of Ash. A 5-lander with a Phoenix of Ash is definitely something to kind of consider. But if you're a red deck, it's not great, right? Now opponent's got a 2/3. Now, if for some reason Zeke has like a quick little kill spell or an Intercessor's Arrest or something like that on this spinner, then that is something to kind of think about. But it looks like he's cycling for a land and pecking away with his Phoenix Chick. It should be pretty easy pickings for Chris, just to kind of continue to develop out a board and then eventually make his way pretty quickly here. Tundra's Fumarole. Okay. Probably not too many snows that are going. Invasion of Kylum. We're playing Invasion of Kylum. Uh-oh. But... And a Skirk Prospector. All right. All right. That is an interesting duo. Now, this Invasion of Kylum, I kind of rag on it a little bit. But it is something that can... it can win the game on its own, right? Like those 2 3/3s that can end up getting bigger and bigger, and they also make your other stuff bigger as well, right? Whenever this creature and at least one other creature attack, they continue to get bigger and bigger. That's very good. Yeah, I think that it's really struggling not to end up being Chris here. He's even holding up the negotiations, which if that ends up, nabbing something, particularly if the Skirk Prospector is the card that gets it, that's going to feel particularly strong as well. Okay. So it looks like one of these removal spells is likely to come in here, and then it's likely going to eat the counter spell. We're going to continue to pack in. Notably, there's not a whole lot of life gain or any kind of removal or anything like that on Chris's side. So if for some reason, let's say like the other Phoenix, the Ash Phoenix of Ash, were to get off the top of the deck and start doing 3 per turn, that's something that can really start to add up. But as it sits, I don't know, 3-2 doesn't particularly attack. The 2-3 really starts to want to stay back because it plays well on defense. Chris is in the driver's seat, but he is going to also need a good draw or two. Alternatively, if, of course, Zeke doesn't really, have a particularly strong draw, I don't think there's a whole lot of coming back from this. We see another land for Chris. Not the worst. Interesting still playing the white source even though he got rid of the Dream Trawler. Probably just a oversight and sideboarding. Oh, I never turned chat back on. Sorry, everybody. Ping pong. There you go. Is it a gain land? I don't think so. I think these are the ones that count as plains or forest. Yeah, it's one that counts as from DMU. Counts as both plains island, just enters tapped. Works well for domain. Works to kick the protect the negotiations, I guess. So I think you probably do attack. You need more gas than just the chick. So you do attack, and I'm also happy to trade off the Skirk Prospector with anything. He did play the Trawler Traveler, but has took it out in this game via sideboarding. Is concerned likely with mana constriction against like a pretty hyper-aggressive deck. And in this case, I would probably trade off the Chimera with the Skirk Prospector, holding on to your 2-3, and then essentially meaning that the Phoenix chick is going to have to go after the invasion for 2 more turns. I would have a tendency to agree as well. Hold on, let's go ahead and turn these things off. Turn these things off. Bing, bong, bing. Close. There we go. Masked Vandal. I mean, it's fine as a 1-3. Do get to make a 1-1 and sacrifice one of your lands, I think is very reasonable in this sort of matchup. And as I looked away, I've now realized that Skirk Prospector was actually attacking Chris's face, and in that case, I do think it's very reasonable to sort of leave it be. Tapping items down, don't want to get rid of your snow lands, so I think just a regular old forest is something to get in with is fine. Attacking with the 2-3. Yep, Mass Vandal plays well against the card, the Intercessor's Arrest, which is likely what I'm guessing something that Zeke is looking to do this next turn. Play the Intercessor's Arrest, get rid of the 4-1, which actually plays really well with it. You don't want to actually put the 4-1 in the graveyard because it comes back, but if you can leave it stranded on the battlefield, that's going to work out pretty well. And then gets to get in and have some 3-2s that eventually grow. One swing in with those 3-2s, they work out really well. Notably, we do have a creature card in the graveyard for the Masked Vandal, so it's something to kind of keep your eye on in future games, is to make sure that he's got that.
Time to feng shui? Microsoft Edge browser comes with AI tools to help you make the best purchase decision. Let cutting-edge browser features find you deals with coupons from across the web. How will you shop and save with Edge?
The Sonic 2 for $7 deal lets you choose from a Sonic cheeseburger, chicken sandwich, and 6-piece Mott Sticks. Any combination you want. It's like your birthday, but without that weird email from your dentist. Sonic 2 for $7 deal.
It's your journey. Own every mile in the Hyundai Elantra. Get an Elantra with 3.49% APR for 60 months or get $750 bonus cash. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
Game over.
Get right, son. Did you like camping so much? Maybe you'll need these.
Stay in your game with DoorDash.
Unfortunately, Squee ends up in the hand, not on top of the deck. But this feels like it's hanging by a thread here. Hanging by a thread. I think one attack with a 4/4 is pretty free. Attacking with both 4/4s is not unreasonable. I think your Avalanche Caller is significantly better positioned than your Destiny Spinner, because the Destiny Spinner, after you play one and then activate, is making 2/2s, which is not particularly strong. Of course, your opponent's going to be attacking in with some 4/3s. So if you expect that, you can play a Destiny Spinner. You can activate one land. Oh, the phone. Is this Alter the Pantheon gaining life? No, I think it was just the animation. Okay, we're going to fire up both lands. Both lands getting fired up and swung in, meaning we're representing lethal. Tough not to just trade off the Jeru and Hazoret with one of the lands, huh? I think that's probably what I would look towards. Because this isn't Kaldheim and Snowlands aren't everywhere. Changeling is a god. Yes, that is why it's gaining life. Yeah, all right. Insert funny name here. Your Bay. Maybe even Quarter God. Oh, I don't like that jump at all. I think you want to end up trading off because you're attacking in for lethal next turn, just doing with the tokens. But we'll see what happens. We've got a Squee, which is a pretty sort of card, but something also like the Raptor would be particularly strong. A land, nothing wrong with that as well. Seeing what we can pull. And then the Jeru gets blocked pretty easily by the double Destiny Spinner. You're trading one Jeru for the Destiny Spinner, but there's not too many other options you can do here, right? And it looks like this is it, right? Not a whole lot going on for Zeke. This Phoenix chick doing everything that it possibly can. But continuing to do this here really means that Chris gets to take it home. Good for him. Very first match, first feature match of his very first top 8. He gets to take it home. Very exciting. Very fun. Beam. The Chris of Death. Yeah, I mean, like, it's got to be turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like probably 9. It's probably turn 9 and came down in turn 1. That Phoenix chick did work, but there just wasn't a follow-up. I think that mulligan to 5 really sort of stymied everything there. Let's see what we can find here as far as maybe a different matchup. Let's see if John is still playing. Nope, looks like John's all done. And looks like we've got Steve and Zeke all done. Jordan and Nathan look like they're still playing. Let's see if we can go pop in over there. Wesley and Nathan are playing. All right, Nathan. Fire it up. Oh, looks like he might just be done. Just popped up on Nathan's stream. Or am I looking at the wrong one here? No, this is Nathan's stream. Looks like he's all done. So we're going to follow on Chris onto our next round, which is great. And let's go ahead and make sure we've got it here. That means Chris is going to be playing against Philip from You Are Already Dead. What a good time. I gotta say, when I was really sort of looking at just the lists, I very much had thought that Zeke had Chris's number. I mean, like the red aggressive deck just seems like it would eat something like this up for lunch. But, you know, the double Lindworm obviously helped out. The Altar of the Pantheon being stellar in both games. All teams going 1-1 into round 2. Hey, it means we've got a pretty solid top 8 then, huh? Very exciting. Of note, just for those who don't know the stakes, obviously you got your prize pooling like normal, that kind of stuff, but also the first place team, both members are going to be making their way into the Player of the Year tournament that happens at the end of every sort of year within the Arena Gauntlet League. Now, I'm only just recently part of it, so don't ask me all the details, but I do see we've got, 2 different league committee members, both in Lears and York on Games, in chat. So if you have any of those questions, make sure to make it well there. So if I remember the format correctly, obviously by the number of wins in the regular season gets you a certain amount of points, and then additional points are dished out per win in the Megadraft. And so exactly what King Solera says in chat, because everybody's sort of doing equally, whoever was pacing the field in the main event, the Swiss rounds, the league, they're obviously going to continue to keep pace there. So we're going to see if Chris might be able to take a game off of You Are Already Dead. And maybe if John and Chris can both do it, that really might stymie their way up there. 1 point for each main season win, 3 points for each Megadraft win. That's great. Let's go and see if we can pull up. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Might have to go back and see if I can pull up the previous season now. Standings, Neo, bingo. Come back down here. Get ourselves loaded up. We're loading in, which is great. Yeah, so You Are Already Dead starts at 21 league. Oh, no, they didn't start that way. That's where they currently are at. 21 league points. Blood Moon at 20 league points. Runaway Team Ken at 19. And Greatest Tanuki at 16. Unless this is being updated live and I'm missing it. We'll get on that in just a moment. Reasonable hand here for Chris. Exactly kind of what we want to see. I don't think these sort of return target permanents, return target creatures, or battles, not particularly strong with this hand right yet, but I think they just kind of work well. Oh, I see. Okay. So yes, our league stands are 21, 20, and 19 total league wins, and so obviously that's going to be very powerful. Sort of moving in, and the Greatest Tanuki has a lot of ground to cover in 16, so everybody going 1-1 in the first round does not really do well for them, but everybody else is in the thick of it. Obviously, just one match going the right way / wrong way means that that's something that could easily be sort of picked up, which is very good. Yavimaya Steel Crusher. Very reasonable card. Looks like we're just kind of playing Flying Man here out of Chris. Now we've got 2 enchantments that sort of lock down your opponent's creatures. I don't think a lowly 2/2 is kind of what we're looking to do. League winners or Megadraft winners are different. All 4 get Player of the Year invites. Oh, okay, great. So if somebody were to end up spiking out the Megadraft, let's say it's Greatest Tanuki, but they end up being not the league winners, they all get Player of the Year invites. That's so good. That is great. In my interest here, I seem to have missed out on what this artifact is. I'll have to go take a bit of a peek. Meeting of Minds doing particularly well. I don't really know what the purpose of main phasing this would be. Philip here. What is that artifact? It's not a helm. Is that an entrancing lyre with very strange art? That's what it looks like. Yeah, so you're going to lock down the 1/1 here. Since a team link though, it would be possible for a number of teams to draw the Mega Draft and still win. Sure, so you kind of go 1/1 in all of your Mega Drafts. That kind of works out. Bite Down I don't think is being terribly useful in here as of yet, but there are certainly some big creatures that could come through and make that Bite Down worth it. I do think that Chris is going to start to struggle a little bit because a lot of the decks he's planning on playing, both this one and then in the next round he's paired up against Jordan, are looking to be pretty hyper efficient, right? Not necessarily anything overly powerful, overly strong, but just efficient and card advantage and good and grind them out. And we'll see how things kind of plan out. We do have one of his greatest cards, which was this Invasion of Ixalan. It's no Dream Trawler, but, draw a card and then eventually flip over into a 4/3 that might have Indestructible. It's particularly strong. We see a Lindworm here, which is great next turn play. We also see a Teachings of the Kirin, which I am pretty high on. I think that's, 2 1/1 bodies and one that continues to grow is great. But against a red-black deck, this Lindworm looks like it's going to be where he wants to go. And interestingly enough, we're still not seeing an Ichthyomorphosis or a Deep Freeze on this 2/2. It's really the only threat. It's already done 6 damage to Chris, but he's going to continue to save his, removal spells. He has very few and far between. He's going to continue to save one for something that's important here. Wondering if maybe we have some sort of instant speed burn spell or something similar that Philip might want to try to do. I know he's got things like Stoke the Flames in the deck. He also has things like Demon Bolt and Poison the Cup. I don't think obviously this 1/1 that he has is really going to be that important for it, but we shall see where things kind of move from here. It looks like we're going to untap and keep the Entrancing Lyre up. Notably, you can always pay 1 mana to tap it back down. However, if Chris were to play something bigger and we've got Philip on the other side wanting to probably tap that down, taking the 1 damage likely isn't going to be that big of a deal. I mean, this is a huge sort of card. We're going to tap the dual land manually to keep up the snow land, maybe? Or maybe he's bluffing a Tamiyo Safekeeping, something similar. No, we're not going to mess with it. We're bluffing the white, it seems. Opponent does know about the revealed worm. That's true. So he's going to untap and then obviously probably try to tap it down with the liar. Not a whole lot that can be done otherwise. And interestingly enough, no attacks with the 1/1. I don't think we're really looking to block, but maybe we are. It would be a good one to get back with both the escort, and then you can end up ninjing in the ninja, bringing back the escort, trying to draw something back out. When you do end up ninjing it in, you're going to get another Lindworm, so that can definitely be a great value play. And maybe just blocking on it pretty quickly is going to be the choice. We see a relatively premium removal spell being used on it, though. And I think I like this, right? Get this thing back. Unfortunately, you can't get into any sort of loops where the nature spiral ends up getting back the escort, which gets back something else, and you just kind of continue to loop that. But because the escort will end up exiling itself as it goes to the graveyard, it'll go to exile instead, so you can't get that one back, mainly for fear of them looping each other and obviously having infinite blockers for 5 mana every turn in their own limited format. But if you can bring it back to your hand, that's not going to the graveyard and therefore will work just fine, which is quite good. And then also, a Demon Bolt here is pretty good. You don't necessarily need to bite down yet because obviously having the 6/6 is going to be really helpful towards that. But it looks like maybe Chris is considering using, while Philip is tapped down, he's considering using the fight spell. I think he doesn't really want to do it with a 2/2. But there's been nothing else that Chris has played. And so this might really give him the opportunity, Chris, to play out something like a Raging Raptor now. I don't know if he's got it or not. We'll obviously see. But the some sort of major haste threat. Double black can be really good here. Get to Chronicler. Kicked is obviously gets back at instant or sorcery. Demon Bolt's a good one. It's probably not his best card to get back, but having a very expensive Flame Tongue Kavu, certainly not something that people are gonna qualm too much about. Really nothing to get back with a Nature Spiral. Really don't want to play the 1,000-Faced Shadow. And you don't really want to Ichthyomorphosis or Deep Freeze a 1/3, right? We're okay with just continuing to take a little bit of damage, little pecks, little pings here and there, and you really sort of struggle to use some of your what really kind of comes down to Chris's premium removal on these little piddly value creatures. So he's waiting for something a little bit better. Notably, Nature Spiral does end up getting back something like an Ichthyomorphosis if that creature is either killed or sacrificed in some kind. We now know that that's the Demon Bolt. It's just a little bit of mana efficiency. It looks like Philip's not going to have too many things to do with his mana this turn, and so therefore he's going to suspend right away. I mean, I'm usually pretty down on this card. It's 8 mana. You're not going to get there, but it time walks your opponent every other turn. Every other turn, time walks him down. Looks like Philip didn't have too many items to do. Might have something like a Poison the Cup here, which means he'd have to take care of 2 of his lands, but really interested to see where this sort of plays out. Do you attack the face? Do you attack the battle? Do you ninja your thing? And I really struggle to think that you might ninja it in, but it looks like Philip's going to go ahead and lock down 4 lands and take care of 2 cards to get rid of Vorinclex, or it looks like 3 lands and 4 cards. Take care of the whole thing. Oh, I have definitely played Vorinclex. It has still been bad. I have won with Vorinclex, and it's not the worst. Oh, this is so interesting, right? Because the Entrancing Lyre is still there, but it gets untapped from the Shattered States era, and because he attacked with it right away, it's still tapped by the time he comes back to it. Very fun. And this is really tough. So that was a huge chunk for 6. Plus, I remember that one flipped back over to have another effect on the backside where it's a 3/3 with haste. But it looks like that last land, that 10th land, means that this nature spiral that's been sort of rotting almost in Philip's or in Chris's hand this entire time is now going to be worth it in order to cast the Vorinclex again. We see Philip only on his 5 mana for the turn. Looks like he's not untapping the Lyre. And it really struggles to think there's too many cards other than like a Poison the Cup that Philip can have here. The trouble with Poison the Cup is that if he wants to do it this turn, he's going to have to foretell it and then use it on the opponent's turn. He didn't do that, so obviously means he doesn't have it in hand. And there's not too many other items that can deal with Vorinclex out of Philip's deck, I don't think. A Furnace Reigns would be something that's extremely good. He just obviously had the first sort of active treason effect. The other item could be something like a Rapin Flames could be an effect to think about, which means he wouldn't be able to block. The Vorinclex would not be able to block. It's a little scary to like attack with the Vorinclex unless you're going to end up ninjing it in, but you don't really want to ninja in because then you can't actually cast the Vorinclex because all of your mana would leave. So I think what likely has to happen here is either A, Vorinclex doesn't attack, which I think is probably the case this turn, or B, we're hoping to Thousand Face Shadow next turn. Notably, I find it interesting that Philip didn't untap. What Philip could have done, and I don't know if this is good, but because the Lindworm is already tapped, he could untap the Lyre and pretty much time walk himself to tap down the Vorinclex, and that does get in for 3 damage. Now, he'd need an extra probably 3 damage based on, something else. Having a Get 2 Lava Runner could definitely be there. I think that this Entrancing Lyre could end up being something, some part of the winning record. I think playing the Ichthyomorphosis first likely isn't going to allow for the Fang of Shigeki to get through. I'm thinking that if Chris attacks with the Fang of Shigeki, it doesn't get blocked. Actually, no, it almost has to get blocked, probably by the Get 2 Chronicler, right? Because we know about the Ninja in hand as Philip, right? And so therefore, Philip can't let that get ninjutsu'd. If he does, that means a second Lindworm comes through, 4 more life, and that's probably game over. So that means that this Niall is likely going to be there. Can you ninja if you... What does ninjutsu read? Let's look. Enters the battlefield and ninjutsu, return an unblocked attacker you control the hand, put this card into its battlefield and show its place. Okay, so you could put the ninja here by picking up the Vorinclex if you so chose. Notably, because he had all of his mana tapped, what could happen is he taps 2 lands in order to bring in the 4 mana ninja, and then that still allows for 8 mana to replay the Vorinclex again. Not a terribly efficient turn on it, but certainly something that could be done. Not really sure what's could happen here. I mean, could also look for another like lethal strike. Don't see too many options here. Stoke the Flames is obviously something that's quite good. Notably, there's no instance here. Now, Philip doesn't know that, but the belligerent Reptosaur is open and available. Looks like Erosa's Blessing, very reasonable card here. The worst part of Vorinclex is all the triggers. We're going to see those hit right away. And now it's interesting, do you kill the belligerent Saur or do you kill the flyer? Looks like the Imperiosaur is what was killed off. Now this means that Chris automatically gets to attack him with the Niall and then end up ninjing out the 1,000 Face Shadow. Gets to gain another 4 life. And at that point, I just think that Philip's probably done for. I just don't think that there's a whole lot coming back after he's at 10. He's been at 6 for a couple turns. He's probably stabilized pretty well. And again, more power to him. We've got an aggressive deck coming at Chris, and he's handled it beautifully. He's playing these big 6, 7, 8 mana threats that, obviously are doing quite well. He's defying all of my expectations. That's certainly true. Just reading Niall, making sure that all works out. Probably chatting with his teammate, making sure that he does the right thing there. One thing to kind of look at is that if you were to attack with Vorinclex, does get to trade off with all 3 creatures. Okay. Looks like 1 card going on top of the library. No stop was put out, so no ninja comes in. But by not doing anything, we're kind of opening ourselves up once again to another tap something down here, I think. There's should be 25 minutes per player. I don't think that match timer really comes into play for either one here. I really struggle to think that that's going to be a factor for most of our top 8 players. Now, could it happen? Absolutely, it could happen. I don't want to write it off as something to play for. Particularly when you're playing for prizes and seeding and all this kind of stuff, you really should sort of play out all your games rather than concede too early. Another Lindworm. Wow. Yeah, there you go. But it is something to consider, I suppose. Something to just always keep your brain on. Make sure that you don't want to get too deep down into a hole there. Normally, whenever you're playing something like Entrancing Liar, you can kind of just untap it and you can tap down the mana, if you want to again. But here, it's such a cost because you're tapping down the mana for 2 turns. This Drag Recycler certainly can do something about it, though. And there's definitely an option at some point where you might be able to tap down something, get in for like 4 or 5 damage, and then Drag Recycler just continues to make things work. The other thing to look at, we've got a Furnace Rains in the deck, right? Grabbing a Vorinclex is something that is huge, right? Obviously, that kind of trampling is going to be super big. I'll probably just block the 4/4 with the 0/1 if I'm on Philip's side. Feel pretty good and confident about that. I don't think there's going to be too many regrowing of the... too many items that are being regrown from the graveyard on the red-black side, but interesting. Now we're considering the 1,000 Face Shadow. Oh, is this another attacking creature? Man, I've been going after the wrong play this whole time. I'm like, all you have to do is copy the Lindworm. It's all great, blah blah blah. But no, it's an attacking creature only for the 1,000 Face Shadow. So he hasn't been able to do that for quite some time. But now it gets to jam in another 4/4. Tap something down, put a stun counter on it, and it's unblocked. So we're getting in 5 damage here. Playing a Lindworm for 3 total lands looks pretty darn good. And usually I'm pretty anti-concede, particularly in top 8 matches. But this is pretty much packing it in for Philip, right? We've got such a gross lead. Yeah, and there we go. So there definitely could be something about getting out there early and fast on Philip's side. He had a pretty strong and good draw. I think, some of these active treason cards is really what might push him over the edge, and so I would really watch out for some of those if I'm in Chris's seat. Having a Vorinclex or a Lindworm nug you in for 6 right after you just play it on top of clearing a blocker and really allowing the rest of the board that is likely to develop to go through. That's all really important stuff. This might be something for like Mists of Lit Yara, right? Just -3, -0, really, turn something off almost entirely for 2 mana. Card of the game was regrow for second Vorinclex. Certainly something that it made itself timely, right? We had it for the whole game, sitting on it, ace up the sleeve, and then once it made its presence, it was a game-winning play. I don't know if it was necessarily the card that really sort of sealed the deal. I think once again you have to look towards those Lindworms. I mean, he ended at 10 life, and there was definitely opportunity to like sort of attack all out from Philip and end up making sure that you deal a couple of points of damage. And Chris at 2 rather than the 4 life gain from the Lindworm. It's pretty easy to push through that extra 2 damage. Frostrider was another one to sort of like look at. Frostfist Strider, I think is what it's called. But having that regrow is something that typically is going to be very slow and not really all that exciting / important. That was a great call out. Dream Trawler is the card that we were excited about. It's the card you want to see. No planes yet. Doesn't really make me that upset. I think I'm keeping his hand 99 times out of 100. The Destiny Spinner coming down on 2 is an excellent blocker. We've got a deep freeze in case there's something bigger than that. And then even if, let's say the Destiny Spinner were to die, you can always regrow it back with the Nature Spiral if you need it. This is kind of exactly the card, the hand that I'm looking for if I'm Chris. Now, what do I know? Maybe that's not exactly the way that it's going to work out, because I would have said that some of these other hands are not that great and doing just fine. But a pretty sort of innocuous start from Philip. Just a 1/1 right now, and that Foretell card means he's down to only 3 cards in hand plus the 1 drawn for turn. But if this is that Demon Bolt once again, that might be something that takes care of the Destiny Spinner pretty quickly. This Boar, however, going into Deep Freeze, I don't think that's actually how you want to do it, right? Blue wall creature loses all other abilities. Okay, never mind. I was going to say it still might be able to reconfigure, but loses all other abilities, really shuts it down, and is now just an 0/4 wall that we're going to have to end up dealing with at some point. Or just flying over with the Dream Trawler. Notably, no other green or no other white mana here for the Dream Trawler, so we're a little bit of a ways off. But lands 4 and 5 get us closer and closer towards that Lindworm. This pup does allow us to sort of attack through the 2/3 because remember it's got a boast trigger that gets +2/+0 for 3 mana if I remember correctly. So it can get in there pretty quickly. You know, it might be something that you might be willing to say, hey, I'm going to attack, I'm going to get in the 1, and then if you want to block, then sure, I'd be happy to take the trade of 3 mana for the creature. But it looks like that attack wasn't made. And now, as people are holding up mana, we all know that Chris doesn't have anything, but that things get scarier and scarier. I have to wonder if maybe Philip forgot that the pup has first strike. Poison the cup going against the 2/3. It's really good in the moment here. Unfortunately, it looks like it might be a little bit short-sighted based on what we know out of Chris's deck. On turn 6, he's going to come down with a Lindworm, and that's just, I mean, I don't think Philip has too many answers to that other than something like this Poison the Cup, and I don't think he's really got any way of bringing it back either. So, I mean, obviously the Liar works particularly well, and then, you know, the Liar works particularly well against the Dream Trawler as well, right? A repeated way to try to tap it down means that it's going to continue to stay down, or you're going to have to discard a card just about every turn in order to make sure that, you know, that works towards. We do notice that Philip is only on 4 lands, which is something to kind of consider, as the Lindworm does need 6 in order to tap it down consistently. This is a pretty easy target to tap down now with the Liar because it still allows you to get in for 3 damage and, you know, effectively use your Liar until next turn, which, of course, we know about. Liar is fine for the Worm, but we're too many mana away, and now we've got some big problem here in this Lindworm. Gonna need to figure something out. I don't think you can untap it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to untap the Liar, so you just got to kind of continue to move on here. One thing to kind of note would be the Prankster, which normally allows, you know, your opponent to sacrifice a creature. Once it dies, is going to look pretty bad. And an Aggressive Sabotage, very good card here. I'm interested to see if I mean, it doesn't really much matter, right? If you discard the Dream Trawler and the Nature Spiral, that's the worst possible outcome. But if you discard one or the other, you get the other one back, right? So you always have a Dream Trawler in hand if you want it. I think discarding the Nature Spiral means that you give choices just in case you don't ever want the Dream Trawler and they happen to be killing off your Lindworm. So I do like the Nature Spiral as a keep here. What is it? Divination, sure. We see a Ninja. This might be a pretty easy sort of option. Let me make sure this. Can I get this a little bit better? Nope. Looks like we have to do something with Nitro. So we do see a block with the wall. We know that there's 2 ninjas in the deck, and so therefore this makes a whole lot of sense for Philip to block with a pretty useless creature in the moment. I think a Scald, right? There's the 5-mana Scalds or something that we're looking towards out of Philip's deck. Otherwise, just maybe one more land for this double boasting on the pup is something that can be done. Looks like we're going to transform over. If this takes care of the other 2 creatures that are not the Lindworm, that's not a bad option. We attack him with both these creatures. Probably just take the 5 here if I'm Chris. Because we know that Frostfist Strider is likely going to be particularly strong here as well. Blink of an Eye is always the general card. I think this must have been pack 1, pick 2. Or no, this is pack 2, right? Blink of an Eye comes from the DMU pack. So this is pack 2, pick 1, pack 2, pick 2, somewhere in there. And it obviously made the deck accordingly. Particularly strong in like a grindy sort of value matchup, which this really isn't, but just as good here. One big thing that it can do is it can end up bumping the Liar at the end of Philip's turn, which can sort of really cause something to work out. Oh, and even the treasure now means that Blink of an Eye is up here. So if, let's say that Philip were to untap, he untaps the Liar. He also were to play a land and then tap down the Lindworm. Could bounce it end of turn to not really allow for that. This also could be something that you bounce as well. So if he can't take the Frost Rider, right? So he's obviously going to take the 6/6. Philip is. But bouncing his own 6/6 is probably a pretty excellent choice. You get into getting another 3 life. You do have to spend your treasure, and you also don't get to draw a card, but you're going to gain essentially 10 life here, right? 4 from the Lindworm, but also 6 from not taking damage from the Lindworm, and that overall is a pretty strong way to go about it. I mean, there's not a whole lot left going on here. So I do probably like attacking here with both the 3/2 and the 4/4. Just trading them both off is perfectly fine. Pretty much having a dead even board is also fine. But then I also don't mind not doing it, right? Like, you're the one in control here as the sort of ramp control player, and getting yourself up to 15 life pretty much no matter what here is great, right? You get a 2-for-1 plus saving a little bit of life out of the Frost Rider. And you just drop the Lindworm and kind of go from there. Yo, it's Spaghetti Mitch. How you doing, Mitch? You're seeing a deck here in Chris's deck that during the draft we all just kind of said was, no, this is round 2, right? This is round 2. Chris is 1-0. Every team went 1-1 in the first round, so we're kind of seeing how things move on into round 2. Chris drafted a lot of blue and green, just sort of creatures and spells that didn't really have a whole lot to do with anything, but he's got 2 Lindworms, he's got a Dream Trawler, which is an extremely powerful card, and he's playing big OG 8-mana Vorinclex to round out the top end of his deck. And so as we sort of move into this game, this must be the 6th or 7th Lindworm he's cast in his 4 total games he's played, and they've all been excellent. I mean, extremely good so far. This boast does allow for the puppy to attack in, so I think I probably would have allowed for that, threat of activation. Could have gotten in an extra 2 damage on Philip's side, or if he blocks with the Lindworm, you just get to kill it off. But I think as it sits now, yeah, there might just not be enough. Avalanche Caller are going to be particularly good here. Once again, that was another card that we saw him pick up. He's got a total of, I believe, 5 or 6 snowlands. We've got 3 snow-covered forests. There's a Shimmerdrift Vale in the deck, and then also 2 snow-covered plains to kind of match up with the Dream Trawler as well. And we thought that that might not be enough of the snowlands, but you know, every time he's drawn the caller, which is twice now, he's had at least 1 or 2, and that's obviously been something that's quite good. So it looks like we're just kind of attacking in, not necessarily for lethal, but for just about. Looks like we're chumping with the pup. Very reasonable to gain 6 life there. And now that it will end up being lethal this next turn. Oh, looks like, did I see a poison? Oh, we got the poison to cut back with the Get To Chronicler. I was going to say, how did that end up getting back there? That is something very interesting. Now, I don't think it's going to work particularly well against this Avalanche Caller, but one thing that we did also know is the fact that these Avalanche Callers don't have a particular amount of snow-covered lands. And so if the Avalanche Caller attacks in, or like puts the land into play and gets that moving, then you can double block. It trades off with 1 creature, and there's no really other way. Now there's just a 2-mana 1/3, which is pretty good. We've got a Poison the Cup against the Lindworm, which is good, but we're also going to note that this turn, a Nature's Revival likely is going to help out. You might not end up playing the Nature's Revival, and the reason why is because you need to draw another land in order for it to be relevant. But I think you got to trade off for this Snow Mountain, or Snow Forest, because it takes off like a second Lindworm. Oh, wow, no blocks. Yeah, I don't know if I like that at all. Sick. We're going to take a look at the general standings here. Let me see if I can pull them up. Thank you, Lears, for all of your hard work that you're doing. Bing bong. Ah, yes. Okay, great. So we still have the top 3 teams all within 1 point of each other. And obviously Chris's defeating here of Philip is going to look quite strong in possibly flipping the script there. Now, just based on how all of the mana ends up working out, you could Nature Spiral back the snow creature, but you're not going to actually be able to attack for 4 this turn. Jordan and Nathan have already won a round 2 match also. Okay, so that's good. Very strong showing. Struggle to get back any sort of dream trawling here. I could deal with a worm. That makes me feel pretty good. Frost Rider's also very reasonable, because then that means that they can't really attack, and knowing the Frost Rider tap something down, kind of go from there. Yeah. Just not enough. Not enough actual gas and oomph coming out of Philip's deck. I think I probably attack with the 1/1 in the air. I might also attack with a Death Toucher on the ground. I don't think I like attacking with the 2/3 because they just block with the 1/3, trade off with a Death Toucher with the 2/2. Kind of call it a day there. It's a pretty free block, but I don't really think it matters, and I'm pretty sure I can say with all certainty, well, most certainty, Chris has got this one in the bag. Yeah, congratulations to Chris. We're going to round 2. Let's see if we can end up falling him away for like what would be a trophy in the draft, right? The only one he has to not play would be his partner, and so 3-0 would be particularly strong for Chris's first appearance. Let's just do a quick double check here to see if John is still playing. Looks like, oh, victory screen from John as well. Does that mean that our wonderful team here of Runaway Teamkin happened to go undefeated against the overall #1 seed coming in? Very strong showing. Very strong showing. That would put them probably in first place overall, unless Team Blood Moon, of course, Jordan and Nathan, end up winning both of their games. Let's see what we can find down over here, if they're both still playing. Jordan looks like he is out of the game. Nathan looks like he's still in a game. So we're going to pop this on right here real quick. Apologies for the formatting. It's okay. Take a little bit of a note of what's going on. We'll notice that Stroud over there is up a game. Has just played a Battle of Zendikar to go well with the Ren and Realm Breaker, which works out particularly strong as well. A Blossom Prancer likely kept things stabilized, but on the other side of the field we got a Sarah Angel with the Anthem effect of the backside of, is it Belanon? I think Invasion of Belanon means that a 5/5 Flying Vigilance particularly strong here. Looking at sacrificing the Omen of the Dead in upkeep to scry 2, I don't know if that's technically really necessary here. You can just move on. Not too many things that are bad for you, and it looks like that's going to work out particularly well because the Tatsugiri being one of his best cards, maybe not necessarily in the matchup quote per quote, but obviously one of his best cards in the deck. So this matchup here that we're watching out of Nathan is likely to end up keeping pace. If he ends up winning this game, that puts him in first place. Otherwise, if he ends up losing this game, that ends up taking him into a solid second that he's kind of been throughout the entire matchup, also vaulting Runaway Teamkin into the first place there. I don't think this attack with Daxos really does a whole lot, but I suppose what it does is if the Blossom Prancer ends up blocking the flyer, then, Daxos gets in and kind of takes down the Ren. So that would be something that looking forward there. Tatsugiri obviously very powerful. And I think it was Evan at one point said that they would have preferred to really take a Sarah Angel early on in the DOM pack. And obviously it's looking quite good here. One thing to kind of note is that we are in game 2, and I've been kind of, hushing and shushing chat quite a bit about timers. But one thing we can see, we're at 9 minutes down on Nathan's clock. Down there, 9 minutes and 1 second left, and he has to not only win this game, but also win a game 3 in that time. And based on his deck, it is possible, certainly with the right draws and maybe necessarily the quote wrong draws out of Steve's deck. But something like this, where we're now, holding up quite a bit of reach blocking, it looks like it's a lot. A Crippling Fear is interesting. I think this is something, he's checking all of his creature typings. He can kill off that spider and then still sort of attack with the angel. If I remember correctly, Crippling Fear is choose a... Let's just look here. Nathan's playing Crippling Fear. Choose a creature type. Creatures that aren't the type get -3/-3. So he's going to sort of remove some of his own creatures here. His own Anthem's going to save his own Tatsugiri, which is extremely powerful and strong. It does allow him to wipe the rest of the board over on Steve's side. If he picks something like Angel, that'll still allows him to attack in for 5 past the Blossom Prancer. Looks like we're attacking all out and saying, hey, you figure it out. One thing, if Steve does sort of sniff it out, he's got a lot of life to play with, is he can kind of do a little bit of here, a little bit of there, whatever. Double block on the Angel. But also, if something like this were to happen, other round 2 games are done. You're already dead. Ends up 1-3 overall. Blood Moon 2-1 with this one ongoing. Runaway Teenkin 3-1 overall. And the Greatest Tanuki obviously playing this match at 1-2 overall. So looks like everything is sort of kind of staying on par, with the only exception that as of right now, Runaway Teenkin ends up flipping with You Are Already Dead now for the standing in first place. Yeah. That big alpha strike obviously looking particularly strong once we end up making our way down to 6 live with Strout. It works very, very well with the idea that we end up wanting to kind of close out this game early. And now this Crippling Fear wiping the rest of the board on Steve's side. I think you got to pick Knight. Yep, would make some sense. You could also pick Unicorn, but I don't think it really matters because they both have the lifelink. So the Vigilance on the Knight works out well there. Swamp Cycler stuck in hand for a little bit of time here. You know, if you're continuing to draw gas, there's no reason to continue to cycle it. If you continue to draw lands, then that means you're going to be able to play it. Tavi has backup, and that would allow for the Sarah Angel to end up, you know, attacking in for lethal should that be happening. But In Bolus clutches to take a Sarah Angel off the side of the battlefield from Nathan going to Steve. That's a good turnaround. That's a big turnaround. I think you might want to just take the draw here if I am Nathan, because if you draw a kill spell, game's over. Draw a kill spell, game's over. I think whatever he does, he's got to do quick because he's only got 7 minutes left in the match. He's going to hopefully try to win this one and a second one. Obviously, you want to play correctly, but you also got to play pretty quickly here. Icy Manipulator, that would have won. Oh, no, that would have won the game. Oh, 4 mana, tap down your Angel and then swing in for lethal. Oof. That's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. You know, if the clock wasn't a factor, I think it probably is the right play to scry and see what you can find. But the fact that we got to do this fast and there's not a whole lot to do. I know he's talking with Jordan, but you got to start clicking buttons. I just, you know, now that we're untapping on Steve's side, he's going to be able to deploy some more threats to the battlefield, and it's just generally not going to be great. The Angel now gets to attack into the battle, as they just sort of highlighted, meaning that there's going to be 2 4/4s on the battlefield. I think that scry might have actually lost them the match. Even if Steven goes on to win, or Nathan goes on to win this game, it just really doesn't look like it might be something that he can come back from. I wonder if they're going to cycle this Gloomfang Mauler now. Is there a fight spell or something coming after that Daxos? Because he's got lots of time as far as life is concerned, but he doesn't have a lot of time on the clock. York can theoretically win matches in 90 seconds. You know, I've definitely done that on Magic Online as well, where you got like 2 minutes or whatever left on the clock and you just keep it rolling. But Arena just doesn't have the same sort of fast-paced item here. And I don't really see it. You got to shuffle away the Enlist creature now. Doesn't do it. That's okay. Plays the Enlist creature. We go a little bit wide. Notably, I was going to say, did I miss a Sarah Angel? But no, they attack the battle. It's an domain returning to the battlefield. Because of the look at that domain that Strout's playing. Pretty greedy pile over there. Pretty greedy pile, as it seems, with all of those colors of lands. But who am I to tell somebody not to do it, right? Got an Inscribed Tablet, looking for more lands. Looks like he... Oh, is Inscribed Tablet just any card? No, a land card. Oh, if you don't pull a land, you get to draw a card at the end. I see. Didn't play with any cards like that. Getting in there fast with the Sarah's Angel, but I don't really know what What does Nathan have in his deck here? There's a Shatter the Sky. That could probably put him back on it. What else do we have? Imperial Oath is okay. Doesn't really have any sort of enchantment removal, I don't think. Just looking. Not really seeing much. Even something like Captain's Call is 3 2/2s right now. You cycle it just to do that? No, I think you cycle for a couple other reasons as well. I just don't think you want to be drawing those lands, and I think that's really going to sort of struggle to do it, particularly now that you're also going to be using a land for Icy Manipulator. In theory, you got to get close to like 8 lands now in order to get there. And the worst part about it now is that even if, let's say, you do get there and like all the worst happens and now you do have the ability to play your Gloomflame Mauler, it doesn't win you the game, right? It's not helping you at all. Now, playing the flyer and then tapping down the Sarah Angel every turn is super good. But I think realistically what you're playing for here is a Shatter the Sky, and your opponent's going to end up drawing a card, right? Because it's 4 power or greater. Yeah, they've got some cards that are 4 power or greater. Now you've drawn a land, then maybe now you keep it, but, you know. And I just don't really see it. I don't really see what we're going to be doing here. That's so bumming, right? End up scrying away the win because you didn't have enough mana for your own Icy Manipulator. They're continuing to throw away like ground creatures here, just to make sure that life keeps going on. And if I were Nathan, I'd probably just keep taking it. Like 3 damage, what is that, 10 turns? I'm going to worry about my clock more so than my 10 turns or whatever. That's not that big of a deal. And then in theory what happens is Gloomfang Mauler ends up hitting the battlefield next turn, and then you attack in for 5, putting your opponent to 1. Phyrexian Awakening is a fine card. It stops the ground pressure, so there's nothing wrong with that. And just kind of keep putting it down. It's a 5/5, which is very strong. All right, we're gonna tap down the Spider, meaning that the Sarah's Angel is going to be able to get in next turn. We got to see if Strout's got anything in his hand. Now, notably, he's on 9 minutes, but it's just not that big of a deal. Oh, and an Iron Verdict means that most of what Nathan's hopes are pretty much going down the drains here, right? Now he's going to take a huge crackback with the 5 in the air. I suppose he can't really take any ground creatures here. Invoke the Divine on the Icy Manipulator. It's a very reasonable card, but I don't think it's anything that's, doing anything wild. I think, the Icy Manipulator might be hurting Nathan more than it's actually helping him in this situation because it's just prolonging the game. We are going to be attacking with 7 Menace on the Cavalier here if he ends up drawing a land, and you can end up putting the counters onto the Cavalier. He's got a 5/5 Vigilance and a 7 power Menace creature. Another carry added. Almost can't watch.
Sasha, all interns must complete the Dunkin' Run.
Meredith, iced coffee, sausage, egg, and cheese.
Okay. Ted.
There is no Ted.
Exactly. You got this.
Time for a Dunkin' Run. Add a $3 sausage, egg, and cheese to a medium or larger coffee. America runs on Dunkin'.
For the first time, I understand real fear.
Everything that's happening, and she's at the center of it.
Question.
What's up, yo?
When I tell my members on the socials about our auto loans with amazing rates, should I hit them with a skirt? Skirt. Maybe it's more of a Navy Federal Credit Union can help you save on a new whip with amazing rates. Yeah, that's definitely a Hundo P moment. Thanks, fam. Hi, this is Gail with Navy Federal Credit Union. What's good? Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Do is it would trade off. He has to trade off both the angel and the reach creature. Oh no. What's happening? Are we trying to eat the angel? No, I would have done this on offense, right? Or are we going to try to tap down or remove something and just hold that until we can get there, just buying a couple more turns with our life total? Oh, maybe they are smarter than me, huh? The Myers Grasp takes down the spider, and even if it comes back tapped. So therefore, then you can aerial boost the Mauler and get in for the win. Oh my God, are we going to a game 3? Looks like it. No stops on Arena, attacking all out, and nobody can block the flying huge Gloomfang Mauler. Look at me, right? Oh no, the 2-mana lifelink. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, that's atrocious. The lifelink. No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, so close. He was at 0. Oh no. Trying to save time and he attacks all out. Oh no. Wow. You got to feel for the guy, huh? Yeah, you got to feel for him. A flying creature? Sure. Now if there's any sort of kill spell on the Sarah Angel. And even if he wins this one, like that attack cost him how much time? Oh wow, what a gut wrencher, dude. I don't think they're playing any other like flying spells. You got Take Up the Shield. There's a Flicker of Fate that might not be able to help. He's got a chump block here. Whoa, no. Man, you really got to feel for Nathan. Now, one of the big things that he can do is obviously he's still going to be in the running for first place because he's going to be playing against what's currently in first place. We're going to see Chris and Jordan go up, and Nathan's going to be playing up against Goku or Go Home. Oh, no. Right? Is that who Chris's partner is? Yeah, John. And so if Nathan can get his head on straight and go take care of John and look towards game or round 3, there definitely is a round where they can still take first place, but that was a huge blow. As things kind of get set back up, we're going to come follow Chris again one more time for round 3. I'm going to go take one more bio break. As we get in here, I will be back very shortly. We'll be right back, guys. Stick around. All right, gang, thanks for your patience. We're going to dive right into round 3. We're seeing, obviously, Chris here playing against Jordan, who may be considered the big bad boss of our top 8. He's going to be our most tenured top 8 player tonight. Even though he's actually only been around the Arena Gauntlet League for about the last 2 years or so, everybody's kind of said this over and over and over ad nauseum. Very, very powerful player, doing always close into contention with the top 8s, and we see him here again tonight. He was in a, if I remember correctly, sort of a blue-black deck. We see him playing a couple of red duels, maybe for a couple of splash cards, and I don't know if it's going to be relevant. We'll also see if Chris picks up on it, but this God subtype is going to do really well off of the Changeling to continue to gain life on the altar of the Pantheon. Looks like Chris misses it on this first turn, but as it continues to tap and pay for mana, it'll work out well. Interesting to see if we're going to play the Nile here or the Void Mage Prodigy. What's his only blue source? That's very interesting. Does have to take down the Afara's Dispersal, but you really don't want to be dispersing a... ooh. Dream Trawler. You don't really want to be dispersing a Virus Beetle. I think you got to take the Dream Trawler here. You're only 1 blue mana away, and although you see an island here, and that doesn't really necessarily feel very good, you have the Nile coming next turn to hopefully help you make that land drop, which is exactly what you want. Vorinclex is very good, but I think the Dream Trawler is a card that it's almost impossible to beat. I mean, really, it's almost impossible to beat. We're going to take a look through Jordan's deck just to see if there's anything in particular that kind of gets there, and it's all sort of targeted removal. The only thing I can see here is a Saw It coming that I don't think is currently up and available for him, so it's going to have to come here shortly. Alternatively, we've got Disdainful Stroke, which is a very good card to sit in there as well. Or 1/5/5 in a Takuchi Shadow Walker, the 6-mana ninja. Other than that, once that thing hits the battlefield, he's got to try to run Chris out of cards, but I mean, that's almost impossible. As you're attacking with the Dream Trawler, you're drawing cards every turn. So, continuing to play cards out here. Yeah, I would have a tendency to agree, but if I know, insert funny name here, she loves a good Dream Trawler. Interesting to see what red cards we're splashing for. I don't think it's the first Eruption, Invasion of Regatha. There's a Burgi in here, particularly strong by casting the backside. Carter's Vicious Return is pretty good. 2 squashes. Lithomantic Barrage. Yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty tough way to go. Lithomantic Barrage could be a good option to play against the Dream Trawler because it's 1 mana to end up killing off the Trawler and essentially therefore causing your opponent to discard a card. And that's kind of the only way that you can do it, right? Is using some instant speed removal plus some sorcery speed removal to kind of consistently trying to, tap down the Trawler every turn. But it feels like it's a losing battle because your opponent is getting more and more fodder every turn as well. Don't really love all of these cards. I might ship them both, as neither of them are particularly strong, and we're really starting to look out for that Dream Trawler because once that hits the battlefield, it is game over. But, there's also nothing wrong with that 4-1 here. Runaway Teamkin and Blood Moon are in the lead and paired versus each other. This is pretty much a win and in, right? Even if they were to split, I think the Runaway Teamkin currently has them by 2 points because they were able to sweep the last round, whereas the Blood Moon allows for the split themselves. So if they split, I think the idea that our Runaway Teamkin would be the only round that had a sweep in round 2 would get them there. But of course, this certainly opens the opportunity for Team Blood Moon to get both wins here and vault themselves into first place. Mirari Conjecture, extremely powerful card, picking up an instant right away, and I think we're going to be picking up a sorcery next turn. Mending of Dominaria could probably eventually help, but it's tough to kind of say exactly what that's going to mean. Could end up blink of an eyeing away the token. That gives some pretty good attacks, but I mean, we've only got some kind of mediocre beats here, right? We're attacking with a 1-1 or 1-3, a 2-2. You know, the difference between attacking with all that and just a 2-4 is a little bit, but it's not that much. Gotta take the snow-covered island here. Are you kidding me? The Lindworm is good, don't get me wrong, but you gotta take that island. Can't even cast the Lindworm right now. Yeah, take the island. Get that Dream Trawler on the board. Oh no, he's gonna mill. No, don't cast the Mending. Oh, he gets to pick up a land card? No, he's got to pick up a creature card. Oh man, Jordan doesn't even realize what he just did, but he ended up saving that island coming into the Dream Trawler's hand. Right, by casting the Mending, he's gonna mill off and the island won't be there anymore. But Jordan just saved the game for Chris. It looks like the only way he gets around it is if he still has the Saw It coming in hand, which is certainly possible. We don't know that it's not. He also has a Shadow Prophecy in hand as well, which is an instant, so he could probably start to look for that. But he's going to need to keep up like 8 mana, and unfortunately he doesn't. Oh no. I mean, it makes perfect sense, and I don't fault Jordan at all, but it looks like he's kind of running right into it. Really unfortunate. Sure, trade off one of the cards here for this. It doesn't matter. Dream Trawler's coming down. There's nothing that can be done. Now, notably, Jordan has a couple of 5 power creatures, which certainly can help. That attacks through a Dream Trawler pretty well. Yeah, I know, right? Never punished. It's just, oh, such a close call from Chris. And he'll look back on this portion and he'll be like, oh my God, I just realized, or whatever. Like as soon as either he watches the video or something happens, he'll be like, I could have lost this game. I could have lost this game. But this will be something that Jordan will absolutely be aware of for games 2 and 3. Oh, here's all the islands, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But something he'll be aware of for games 2 and 3 that he'll have to end up making sure he can take care of, holding on to whatever sort of counterspells he have. Looking out of the sideboard, I don't see any additional counterspells. I also don't see any particular discard spells either, so there's nothing crazy that's going to start showing up in here, I don't think. You know, if he wasn't playing the Skull Raid, maybe that's something that he might bring in, but I would think that would be a card that would be particularly strong here. Elspeth's Nightmare would be another one that we can do. Like, target opponent reveals hand, you choose a non-creature, non-land. Now that is going to take the Dream Trawler itself, but it does sort of continue to pick away at the resources, because one of the things that's particularly, you know, strong with Dream Trawler is you don't need any particular cards, right? Discarding this escape card is a value that you end up getting to use, but in general, all you have to do is literally have cards in your hand, and the wonderful thing about Magic, you get to draw a card every single turn. What's going on? Yo, thanks for the follow. Oops. Looks like we've got it down under here. There you go. Evac kills, greatly appreciate you. Interesting to see kind of where things go from here. You can't imagine that we're going to be blocking much. Don't worry, Spaghetti Mitch. We'll make sure to do a little bit of a pitch towards the end. If you like what you see, make sure to come join out the AGL. If anybody from the league committee wants to drop a Discord link, you're more than welcome to do that in chat. Ooh, so now here's an actual great play, right? The Skull Rend for 2 means he's going to discard 4 cards. 4 cards out of Chris's hand is extremely good. I don't think it's going to be good enough, but it is very important, right? And normally, if there was just any old random card, let's say like a Mending of Dominaria on the battlefield, that wouldn't be that big of a deal, and this would be absolutely backbreaking. I think that Jordan's got it in the bag, right? But, I mean, Dream Trawler just digs you out of these holes. It continues to gain life. You know. We're having a great time over here, Evac. In case you weren't fully aware, we're doing a big 60-card Megadraft tonight of all sets that have sagas in them on Arena. Well, most sets that have sagas in them. And players are playing the finals match. Whoever wins this one, it's a partner league between this and their partners. They're going to end up taking the first place prize. If they happen to split, Chris, who is our Sinkwater here, our player that we're watching, does have the tiebreakers, so they can end up taking the whole league and then some player of the year spots with this win. Oh, I see. Well, let's kind of move along, Evac. Thanks for your... I appreciate it. You're welcome to sit here and hang out and watch, but we're not going to be doing that tonight. We got a quick draw here. Oh, wow, and that's going to be an excellent choice to play. Now, normally I'm pretty apt against playing cards when you have a Dream Trawler on board. However, Frost Rider is going to end up essentially locking the entire game up by tapping down the 5/5 on the opponent's side. It blocks everything else with the exception of the 2/3, which really doesn't matter here. And now we've got two cards to fuel the Dream Trawler, which is going to be lethal in the air. Yeah, no thanks, Evac. I'm going to end up giving you the old boot. Okay, taking a look back in here. Timret gains some life. Rest in pepperonis. Very true. He was a good lad. But this game is pretty much all but wrapped up. I'd be interested to see if Jordan's going to do any particular sideboarding here. So we'll have to see what changes might come out. I don't imagine cutting a color is going to be particularly, good or powerful for him. I think he's going to have to probably stick with his 3 colors because that's going to be the most powerful cards that he's got. And just have to make sure that he holds on to those counter spells. We know he's got 2 in deck. He just needs to make sure he holds on to one of those at all times for the Dream Trawler. The only other option would be to see if he can rip it from the hand, but that's very unlikely because the only discard spells that he's got are going to be cards that end up hitting, random cards or cards that Chris can choose rather than anything else in particular. So one thing he's got the Vohar, Voldelian Desecrator out of DMU, it looks like, right? Which is something that allows you to buy back a spell. That could be particularly powerful on the Skull Rend. I mean, it's like 2 mana to cast a creature, 2 mana to flash it back, 4 mana to Skull Rend. Like, in general, it's particularly strong. And then you'd have to try to kill the Dream Trawler in the same sentence. But, there is an opportunity to get there. Yeah, right? Isn't that a fact? Dream Trawler hits the board and you can pretty much pack it up in limited. Now, notably, there's actually 2 different players in the format here that have Shatter the Sky, which is a board wipe. And that would be something that deals with the Dream Trawler, right? Because it doesn't get indestructible. It's just hexproof. But I don't think that Chris has really actually played against any of those players. Now, notably, this is the first time we've seen Dream Trawler on the battlefield. We saw it in hand, but I think it got discarded, and then the Vorin Klex ended up getting rebought back in that other game. But we're going to see this counterspell likely coming back in because we saw a counterspell from Jordan. So there's a good possibility that they're going to try to sort of counter war, fight it off against the Dream Trawler. And the other card I kind of wish we would have seen a little bit more of that we still haven't is Emoti, right? I don't think we've even seen it once. I wish we kind of would see that one go off at least once or twice, potentially for a game winner here. Holy cow, do I already see that You Are Already Dead Philip has beaten Zeke already in round 3? Holy cow, that was so fast. If I remember correctly, both of them are on those like red aggro decks, and so I guess that is pretty fast, but that was a blistering pace for that one, which means that You Are Already Dead is in pretty much locked into 3rd place. Technically, if Runaway Teamkin sweeps, no, if You Are Already Dead sweeps and Team Blood Moon splits, then they might get 2nd. But I think with that loss, Greatest Tanuki ends up, they do get 4th place overall. Very powerful showing, obviously just kind of coming in and doing their thing here. Squeaking into the top 4, but at the same time, top 4ing nonetheless. Congratulations to them. Yeah. Sometimes that is how it is, right? Obviously, it's better to be lucky than good. It is best to be both, but you kind of do what you can when you can. So anyone land unlocks this hand. I think it might be something that I would keep. I don't know if it's particularly strong or powerful, but I do think it's something I might keep, right? Because you end up playing the Secret that gets you an island that allows you to join Exploration or JL. That eventually kind of unlocks the Divination and the Dream Trawler. It is slow. It takes some development, but we're in a 60-card draft format, and although some things are powerful, I don't think anybody's particularly fast. You know, I think Chris might correctly end up deciding to tip it back. I might not have done that. I might have taken the incorrect play, but that last hand could have worked out. This hand works out very similarly, and I kind of don't hate... I think I like keeping the Void Mage Pride. I don't hate getting rid of the Horizon Seeker. The odds of it drawing a land are about the same as the Skittering Surveyor drawing a land, and so I might just do that. Alternatively, you could toss back the Vorinclex, but I think that's a good plan to have, right? It's just having something big. Looks like he's going to toss back that Vorinclex and see what we can find with the Void Mage Prodigy or something similar in order to do in the top end. Looks like we're just going to have a bunch of tap lands from all players here. Jordan might have some on 2, but in general, it seemed like his deck really got going on turn 3. So we'll see how that one goes. Yep, more tap lands. A tap land here. Everybody kind of taking the Gentleman's Commander Agreement, where the first 2 turns just kind of get taken off. Circuit Mender, sure, very reasonable play. Get them to gain a little bit of life. We'll draw a card in a bit. It really suggests that Horizon Seeker isn't going to do all that much unless you want to try to get it next turn, right? And search out a basic, but you've already got 2 others. I don't really even know if this is something that you're going to be doing this next turn. I might just Void Mage Prodigy on 4 and then seeing if we might be able to Skittering Surveyor plus like Boast on 5. And then at that point, you're going to have a total of 7 lands, including both plains, probably 2 snow lands. And in the interim, we'll see what Jordan's going to be doing. But there is a plan to kind of move out that way. Bergie, okay, really interesting here. Part of me kind of thinks that the Horn should be the default version of Bergie, but it looks like Jordan's going to go with the 3/3 on that side. I wonder if that means he's got some sort of plan to try to start attacking through the 3/2, but we'll see what he does on his next turn. We get the Emoti. I just kind of had the question, so we're looking at between Emoti and Mending. And I think without anything in the graveyard, I think I like the Emoti, right? It's something that we want to kind of continue to move towards. Unfortunately, Vorinclex is in the bottom of the library, so that might not be great. But you might be able to find yourself one of those Lindworms. I remember not playing my foil Dream Trawler in Theros pre-release. What a fun day. Sounds like Spaghetti Mitch didn't exactly have all of the context he needed. Bergie going off here, right? Doing Bergie things. Continuing to cast a bunch of spells and getting the extra mana, right? But I struggle to think it might be enough. Hopefully that's the sod coming. I think you also kind of hope to trade off the Bergie here if you're Sinkwater. Yep, and just in general, not feeling too good about everything. Re-looking at some of your seal pulls to see how dumb you are. I don't ever want to look, dude. Like once I'm, if I'm look back to how I was in the, 6th grade or in college or even a couple of years ago, I don't want to know how dumb I was at Magic or life. Just let me be good about it now. That's what I'm hoping. Imagine not playing the Ozolith or Pelucranos. As you take a look back at what Elspeth's Nightmare is going to be taking out of Chris's hand, I mean, it's a whole bunch of averagey cards, right? A couple bounce spells. And obviously, that works pretty well into the Circuit Mender. The Bite Down, obviously, is fine in the Circuit Mender, but not phenomenal. And obviously, you can't take any of the creature cards like you probably wish you could. This is a great trade for Jordan, not a great trade for Chris. So obviously, 2 free damage gets to come in. I don't expect that to last very long. Eye of Gitaxias is a great thing because you can continue to draw cards here, which is good, but also holding up that 2 mana could be very important. Notably, I believe that, we're going to have to check on what Emodi's reading is, but Kicker, does that affect the CMC on the stack? I know it doesn't. No, I think it's an alternate casting. So we'll have to see exactly what Emodi reads. Sometimes it's like how much mana you paid. No. Spells you cast with mana value 6 or greater. No, okay. So Kicker doesn't exactly work out with Emodi. And Jordan couldn't resist the Disdainful Stroke on the card here. Seems kind of slow with Wedding Invitation. Well, we all have our faults, right? Jordan looks like he's going to continue on to try to beat some face. And we're really hoping, at least for his sake, that this hovered card way over here, this foretold card, is that Saw It Coming. Because if he doesn't have that, he's in for a heck of a run if and when that Dream Trawler comes up. The trouble is that we don't know if and when it is going to come up. And so in that instance, right, like what do you do? Right, when something like it's a Skull Rend. Well, after having seen the hand with Elspeth's Nightmare and knowing it's all gas and some good stuff at that, the Afara's Dispersal, the Blink of an Eye, these are all cards that are particularly good, I think. And so Skull right into there is pretty good. I find it interesting that the Skittering Surveyor is still out there. But you get to kind of attack with the Emoted here, mainly because you don't want to be blocking with it. And then I think the Frost Rider just kind of locks the game down here. Or not the game, but just the board gets locked down. Jordan's got a couple of items here. There's a couple of 5-mana kill spells that might do it. Locking down the 2/3 is, I think, pretty interesting here. Okay, what's this? Oh, it's a Chimera that we sort of belabored a little bit when that got taken. Gonna Blink of an Eye. I mean, there's really no reason not to kick her here. Might as well draw your card. So keep going there. Oh, it's tapped. I was like, wow, what a block. But no, it comes into play tapped specifically for that reason. Jordan's at, or Chris is at 4. He's got a lot of good blockers. But if Jordan attacks all out, there's no Stoke the Flames or anything in his list, I don't think. Let's look. No. Nothing crazy like that. Oh, there's an Invasion of Regatha. I doubt it's in, but something like Preening Champion, obviously very good here. Ichthyomorphosis. A lot of wide stuff happening. You might need to end up playing the Skittering Surveyor so that way you can also play another 3-drop this turn. Yeah, right. That got pretty scary pretty quick. And now Jordan can also scry and upkeep for a 4-mana spell. Lithomantic Barrage also being very powerful here. Spaghetti Mitch, thank you for paying your taxes. I got to redo all of those. We were playing a lot of Kaizo Ironman at one point. I think that's what those are all relevance to. Let me look. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Skittering Surveyor just being a chump block for the big 5/6 is obviously very powerful here. And then I think playing any other 3-drop is going to be really good for you as well. Obviously, getting a Snowland helps. Getting an island, or the plains allows you to cast the Dream Trawler if you magically were to draw it. Then of note also, remember the Vorinclex is at the bottom of the deck. This does shuffle it back in. And so the Ichthyomorphosis likely on the flyer, I think, is where you want to be at. Okay, looks like we're playing it on the big 5/6. A little interesting to see that no scry on upkeep. Yeah, Miranda's a big Kaizo watcher. Really appreciate that. We haven't done it in a little while. We might go back to it at some point, but Lord of the Rings is... I'm having too much fun with Lord of the Rings. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I know not everybody was here. We are doing a full set. We're drafting Lord of the Rings until we have a complete set on Arena, and currently we're sitting at about 150 packs in reserve. Wow, another 5/6. Look at this guy. Undersea Invaders out the wazoo. Still attacking with it. That makes obviously perfect sense. So we got about 150 packs to open up, and I think we got about 170 or so rares that we still need. So once we get about 50 more packs and rares that we need, we'll open them all up, see where we're still at, kind of go from there. Giant Rogue. But you're always welcome to come hang out. I think, based on our 17 lands data, I have to go take a look. We've got to be closing in on 100 drafts, I think. Oh, apparently, never mind. 100 matches it looks like we're closing in on. Or we've just passed 39 total events, 13 trophies, looks like. 68% win rate. Nice. All right, so obviously we're still holding the flyer back here. How many Mardu drafts? We could talk about it a little bit. I'd have to take a look exactly at my data, but my data here. All the trophies are in some sort of red, white, black, white, red, blue, black, blue, red, white, white, black. And then every in between, you'll see like 3-color or 4-color. I did get a trophy with a 4-color that I put in the hot dog channel. It was all legends and hobbits and stuff, and that was probably my most fun deck. I also just had a trophy today with Sauron, pack one, pick one, and that was pretty awesome. Shadow Prophecy. All right, that's a good one. Only gets to look at 3, gets to pick 2, but if they're any good, he needs just a tap down, a kill spell. Looks like we got it. What's your favorite color and why is it green? My favorite color in theory, which I've never actually played, is white because I want to kill with Frodo Sauron's Bane. There's 2 cards I've not even seen in a draft yet. And it's Frodo Sauron's Bane and Call of the Ring. I think the second one is obviously extremely good, but the first one, I have no idea. Nobody's passed it, anything. And I want to win with that card. I haven't even played it. I crafted one so I could play it in Historic Brawl. And I got some people there, which is great. Also found out, for those of you who need it, that you can end up crafting all 9 of the Nazgul arts if you'd like. You don't have to just use the generic Nazgul art, which I thought was neat. all in Arena, you have to craft at least one of each, and then you can start playing them all. Was quite the comeback by Jordan. I think he probably got there by the skin of his teeth. Looked particularly good, but we also kind of watched as Chris sort of continued to draw some air, really couldn't deploy all his threats, and then he had a bunch of like 3-drops, which just weren't really going to continue on. So one thing that we kind of talked about with Jordan's deck is the fact that it is very efficient, right? There's a lot going on, a lot of good cards. Eye of Gataxias, 2 Shadow Prophecies, he's got his Tribute to Urborg, a couple of things like Omen in the Sea and Moment of Truth to really find what he's doing. Skullrend is powerful, 2 Preening Champions. You know, he's just in general, you know, doing a lot of hyper efficient items. And I think although Chris's deck is more powerful on the powerful end, obviously Dream Trawler, Vorinclex, 6-drops, you know, sometimes that efficiency and just general sort of continued, this is interesting, just sort of continued velocity through your deck to find your best cards, something that certainly can't be denied from Jordan. Notably, even if Jordan does win this game, we are going to have to, you know, pop on over to John's stream and see how John is playing. I believe he's playing against Nathan, who we kind of saw lose last round in pretty crushing fashion. And so there's always that chance that, you know, even if we see Chris end up going 2-1 today, which is extremely good in the top 8, just seeing John also go 2-1 means that they might end up, they still would end up taking home the trophy because they currently hold the tiebreaker. 2 3s against 2 3s, not particularly exciting or strong. But notably, I mean, you know, Destiny Spinners are enchantments, and so are Fang of Shigekis, right? So once we sort of get some of these things out here, right, it's certainly nothing wrong with this idea that you might end up having 3 enchantments, turning any of your lands into 3/3s for 4 mana. Technically 5 because you'd have to tap that one as well. But kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. Again, we also see this, what do they call it? Expeditious Lookout. We kind of called it out in deck building, where this was something I think normally isn't that great of a card. It's something that didn't really show up all that well in Mom Draft, but playing it out so early and then still being able to attack with it later is really, really good. Turns off counter spells. The Dream Destiny Spinner does. Now, is that just for creature spells? Creatures and enchantment spells. Oh my gosh, so the 2 big things that he would have countered, which would obviously be like Mending or Emoti or Dream Trawler or Vorinclex, the Lindworm, all of these high-end cards, the Strider, none of them can be countered. The most expensive card that can be countered would be the Meeting of Minds, and that's not that great. So pretty much the Disdainful Stroke is completely turned off with the Destiny Spinner on board. Very interesting and good call out from Spaghetti Mitch. And then the fact that there's 2 of them makes it even crazier. We're going to end up using the Tamiyo Safekeeping to kill the... Oh, but a quick little 1/2. What's that 1/2? What's he doing in there? A little Brine Barrow Intruder. -2/-0 until end of turn. Saves off his own 2/3. Also now allows for a double block into the Destiny Spinner if the Destiny Spinner attacks, so that's going to be something to kind of look out for. I don't know if Jordan's really noticed it quite yet, as far as like how relevant that is, because he doesn't have a deck list, right? But we'll see as things kind of continue if that's extremely important, regular important, or not really important at all. Could end up seeing something like the... Got to look at the card name here. This 3-mana card, the Horizon Seeker, could attack, it could boast, and then on the flip side, we could end up seeing really anything. Like the Divination after combat, we could see the Joint Exploration. Sure. Well, it's always interesting to kind of get some of those things that are static, right? You've got this static ability of like, hey, things can't be countered. I remember there's also there's that old Hermit in Innistrad that when it comes back, things can't be countered. And I saw somebody else sort of mess that up on the stream as well, and that kind of stuff happens. Jordan sees and knows all. Maybe it's just not very relevant for him because this last turn he probably could have attempted to trade off with that 2-3, but he thought that the Horizon Seeker was some more important. You know, the 1-2 on Jordan's side does trade off pretty well against the Fang of Shigeki. Not really something that we really care too much about on either side. The fact that it's an enchantment on Chris's side is good. Death Touch theoretically should be triggering off of something a little bit more. Wow, that's a pretty good one. I'd struggle to tap anything, huh? Oh, we're going to Divination. That would take down a lot of spells here. Sure, tap the plains. Hold up your forest. And I don't know if I'd tap the plains, right? Because now if you draw a... Oh, okay. So now if you draw an island, you want to hold up both of your kicker spells. But no island was drawn. But our Vandal was drawn. Should be able to kill off that 3-3. And then I think you still get to attack him with the Destiny Spinners, because if he wants to double block and try to end up taking down... Oh, we could also do the 2-2, but I think the 3-3 is really where you want to be at. You could double block, and you could trade off one for like the Okabe Reckoner raid, which is perfectly fine. Having the second one is really helpful. I also could totally foresee keeping everything back because you've got the long game sort of in the back here. I don't think that he's going to have to sort of squeak one out, right? It's not going to be anything about, going over the top. The power definitely rests in Chris's deck. Power definitely rests in Chris's deck. We'll see if Jordan picked up anything particularly strong. Bergie is good. This is that other card that we kind of mentioned. What is their name? It is a Vohar. It's a looter early, and then it allows you to flash back a spell late. A tap land here. It might even actually be the only tap land in Chris's deck. Oh, he's got 2 dual lands, so... Couple tap lands, and this one's really started hurting him here, meaning that like the worm isn't going to be able to come down on the right spot. Unfortunately, also we're seeing that Bergie starts to stall everything on the board as well. John top decked a Gloomfang Mauler to take the other match to 1-1. Ooh, okay. So both games going into game 3. Notably, you can do this Vohar at instant speed, right? So, activate only as a sorcery. Okay, you cannot do it at instant speed. The counter spells are off the table. So it looks like Eyes of Ataxis is probably one of the biggest things that you want to be doing. Just turning that into a 3-3 and drawing a card. Obviously very powerful, but... Skull Raid would be another one, or some sort of kill spell. We see both Settle the Score and Final Death, just 4 mana and 5 mana, destroy target or exile target creatures. Definitely could be powerful. Yeah, sure. Shadow Prophecy could also be there. You're essentially just drawing 2 cards and gaining or losing 2 life. I'd still have to wonder. Oh, the Mirari Conjecture. All right, that's a good one. I'd have to wonder if Bergie would have been better as a horn. Not to say that it would be, but I just have to wonder, right? Because like as you're going to kind of get closer and closer towards things getting out of control here, the one way that Jordan can kind of keep up is with card advantage rather than card quality. Looting away. An island, sure. A virus beetle, sure, great pickup here. I think it likely gets, I was going to say either the deep freeze, potentially the joint exploration. You're keeping onto your land animator here for pretty much all costs. Yeah, furnace charge is great. Doesn't really go well into the face of a 6/6, and now we see we see Chris with a flyer in hand. That's got to be not the best. One more thing to kind of note is that as we kind of look at Destiny Spinner, that enchantment does count. So I'm wondering that, just might as well sacrifice and save your 6 life. Continuing to loot. More and more lands going to the bin. Looks like Jordan is running low on gas, huh? Running low on gas. What are we pulling out here? Okay. Now gets to do it for 3, right? Because now there's a mountain in play. Eyes of Ataxis, and because of Bergie, now gets to flip it right away. Emoti. Okay. Yep. I think if you were trying to do some sort of big alpha strike, then your snow Snowland is probably the one that you want to be doing here. You could cast this with Kicker if you had the extra mana, but unfortunately, Chris does not. So we're just going to continue to get in. For 6, we're going to try to trade things off here on Jordan's side. I think it probably makes some sense. You notice a lot of X1s, right? 1-1, 3-1, 1-1, 1-1 on Chris's side. So this Virus Beetle actually trades off with a real card or a token rather than just chumping and gaining a bunch of life. Got to see what sort of mystery cards are going to be in Jordan's hand. He's got a lot of card advantage and 1-for-1 removal. Okay, the Tribute to Urborg taking down the Destiny Spinner means that none of the lands are going to get activated from that, only from the other card that's in hand. And now we also see a Ninja for the flyer, which is going to be particularly good. A 1-1 flyer right now, not the best, but getting in for 3 damage and then also being able to come back as a 3/3 flyer, that seems pretty darn good. Running short on blue mana, I think. Nathan 2-1 John. So it all comes down to this game. Oh my gosh. Wow. Thanks for the heads up. Big stuff. Good for Nathan for getting his head back on him, right? Like in the last round, he had quite the loss, and so rallying back to get a win. Good stuff. Good stuff from him. I still think that, based on what we can see, based on number of cards in hand, card quality on the board, Chris is in the driver's seat. Very first top 8 he's ever been in, and he's looking to go 3-0 against one of our, most prolific players right now. I guess in recent memory. I believe, if I remember correctly, Jordan was Player of the Year, or Rookie of the Year, potentially, not too long ago. I'm sure someone in chat can correct me. Oh, we're going into game 3. So wait, Nathan and John are even at 1-1 going into game 3? That's a good rip as well. Pull something back from the graveyard. No, Nathan won the match 2-1. Okay. Okay, the saw it coming. It's really important as it sits. We're going to be able to buy something back, but not really attack with it this turn. Jordan's going to need something off the top of the deck, and I don't know what it is. Dark Bargain, I guess. There's a turtle that's a 2/5 he's got in the pool somewhere. It's just, there's too much value coming from Chris's side. Bringing back the big Lindworm. Now it's got Cascade. We're cascading, hold on, into a meeting of the minds. Oh, come on, dude. Let it go. Oh, no. It's looking closer and closer. Any major red cards that we got? You know, the Invasion of Regatha. Couple squashes, maybe. We've got the big 5/6s, I guess. But Final Death, sure. And now we've got a Dream Trawler coming in. It gets Cascade. Oh my god, if you could imagine a Dream Trawler that gets any better, let's just Cascade into our Mending of Dominaria. And that's the game. What a way to finish it, huh? I feel a little bad for Jordan, but congratulations to him. Looks like they're going to end up doing particularly well in this format. But it looks like Chris, we picked the right man to follow along, right? Chris R is our only player to go 3-0, and therefore is the only vaults his team, which of course is Runaway Teamkin, into first place, winning the league and getting him him and his partner. Of course, John did an excellent job as well tonight. But overall, 3-0 from Chris. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Cool stuff we saw tonight. Really happy about the whole thing. Let's go ahead and take things back over here. And with that, I think that means that we're going to end this portion of the stream. I really appreciate you guys all coming to join up. Thank you so much to Yorks on Games for requesting and asking out. I'll make sure to post a link to the VOD in the Discord for anybody who's interested in rewatching it. Or if you happen to miss an earlier game, those things were awesome there. Really appreciate everybody who came to hang out. Really appreciate all of the engagement in chat. Had a blast. Hopefully we can do this again sometime soon. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.